Hey, everybody. I'm Mike.
Bob.
I'm Tim.
I'm Mike.
Oh, me.
I'm
Chris.
There we go. Hey, we did get it.
I was reading that way.
We should have rehearsed that.
You guys know how it's
Maybe
done.
we should have. And this is the Board Game Rundown. Welcome to Whiskey Wednesday. And we have done the impossible. We have wrangled Mike and Chris together on one single stream. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us back.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know
I
how
believe
we
that's
did
called
it.
the full 42.
Oh, you know how we did it is we asked them individually, didn't tell them that
Right.
each other was going to be on. And
Yeah.
imagine their surprise.
I didn't have enough of
Just-
Chris on Monday's show, so I figured why not stick around for this one.
There you go. Hey, Eric, we need to get Eric back on here because the last time Eric was on, I had to miss. And
Yeah.
that was a
yeah.
bummer.
I'm glad that Mike introed real quick because I almost started with a, hey, everybody, welcome to the
Nice.
Have it.
I had to stop myself. I went, oh, it's not me.
It's all right.
Funny.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
Put it on the blooper reel.
Mhm. Yeah. Live recording blooper reel.
Isn't this whole thing the blooper reel?
Yeah, this is. I'm a walking
Yeah.
blooper reel.
Pretty much. Honorable mentions, blooper reel. We'll say hi to everybody. Steph is with us on the other side of the world, probably drinking the
Morning.
morning coffee. Jazz on the other side of Bob's house.
Okay.
But and we'll have more people trickle in. We're just borrowing the full 42 viewers for now.
Yeah,
Yeah, we are.
I think all of our normal viewers just aren't used to us starting this close to on time.
Yeah. Everybody's used to us showing up fashionably late.
Yeah.
Glad we can help. Glad we can help.
That's exactly what's going on. So we don't have anything quite as cool as what you guys did. We joined you guys last week for your 200th episode, which was awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Tons
you.
of fun.
Yeah, that was cool. That was very cool.
But we're gonna still have some fun tonight. I mean, we have our top 5 worst production mistakes that we're gonna go over tonight. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it's really fun to go on some tangents of things that aren't exactly positive. And there's just so many different ways that a list like this can go.
I think any. Oh, good. I was going to say I think any game producer, publisher should watch this. Get past all the rants and stuff, but there's some good stuff that's going to be said here.
Ooh, look at that. Some advice, some
I have
truth
no
talking.
constructive in my criticism.
I like the foreshadow from someone living in the past. This is pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
look at that.
And the interesting part is that, of course, both of you guys are in the industry, so you're not immune to criticism. Maybe some of our criticism has to do with projects that you guys are part of. I mean, I don't mean to be foreshadowing or anything, but it's possible.
No, I know for certain that some of the things on my list are things on past projects I have touched. So
Oh, look at that.
Interesting.
this is me learning, right?
Well, no,
Okay.
I mean, but that's kind of the idea, right? Is it like, if anything, hopefully some of these things can help anybody that's looking to publish or, any like, oh, hey, yeah, I didn't consider that. Maybe that's something to look out for.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Or, go on, Mike.
Curious what your focus was on, because thinking about it, there's definitely some stuff that's front of mind that would have made it, but not necessarily production. And I'm curious how many of these are pet peeves rather than mistakes.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I get that.
Did you say we were supposed to have 5? Because I have.
Oh, wow.
100.
Yeah, I mean, once you get going, right?
Yeah,
So-
no, I actually,
Yeah, and another thing.
I want to hear them. So
I've circled 5, but I have plenty of backup of someone else.
and we've got honorable mention time and things like that. So
We
Circled
do.
5. Yours aren't in order?
No, I'm going all Mike here, or all Googs.
Well, I got 8. And I figure with 5 of us, there'd probably be a little bit of toe stepping. So we'll see.
I don't know. This is this is kind of a wide open topic. I'm kind of not expecting really a whole lot of crossover here, or if any at all. I mean, I kind of know my co-hosts taste in games and what annoys them, especially Bob, what bothers him when it comes to production, certain things, but I don't think there's going to be any crossover actually.
Well, I'm curious. See the way you said it though. That's kind of what I was talking about. Like, what bothers you in production and what's a mistake. Like, I think there's a difference there. So I'm curious. I'm curious.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Also,
For me, it's choices, right?
Right.
Mhm.
The decisions that were made.
Yeah.
I totally forgive mistakes. I've made them. Everybody makes them, right?
Right.
Sure.
Somebody's like, "Thump, yep, that's good. Send it." And you're like, what?
Yeah. Who approved this?
Yeah.
Like
Off
the
their
missing
heads.
pages in Elf.
I
And
want.
of course, us
yeah.
being
exactly.
outsiders looking in, we're just going to take every opportunity to annoy the guys in the industry. So,
Yeah.
like, that's not a mistake.
We probably hate it more than you do.
Oh, here we go. Steph has a really good question. How do you differentiate design mistakes versus production mistakes?
Great question.
Design mistake in itself is like a landmine of a term, right?
Mhm.
Because you would think after a game is designed and then developed and then published, any design mistakes are purposeful. So I don't think there is a design mistake in a finished product because they chose for that to happen. Now you might say it's a bad design. That's that's subjective and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if there is such thing as design mistakes in a published game.
Is a moldy bag considered a production mistake? Oof.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry about your moldy bag.
Yeah,
a
that's all
storage
kinds of
mistake.
I feel like coming from Dave though, that's a metaphor for something else.
Yeah, we should get him some antifungal cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
manufacturer.
If you make stuff for that, I can give you a good doctor name.
Yeah. Bob's had that plenty of times. He can get to.
Yeah,
he knows
there's
the guy.
manufacturing mistakes too, right?
Oh, sure.
Things you didn't
Sure.
even know were going to happen as a publisher. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a cream for that.
No, that's a great question. And I like
Yeah.
Chris's point of there's no design mistakes in a published game, but I think even that comes with a caveat because I can think of some that are published that have mistakes, and it was either because certain testing wasn't done or the production team didn't care or something. I mean, there's always
Development mistake.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so nitpicky. Just argue back at me. I know I'm coming across very strong.
No, you're good. I don't. This is just fun conversation as far as I'm concerned. Like, let's go.
When you're a designer, developer, all these different things, you have to know exactly what those different hats are. So that's what I'm applying to all these things. But ignore my, what is it? Pedantic? Is that the right word?
Yeah. You're pedantic.
Pedantry or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shallow.
I will say I didn't go with anything that was a design decision. They're all components or storage related.
Oh, man.
Did you look at me when you said that?
Oh, shots fired.
A preemptive thing. I made no storage choices on any of the things. I gave advice, but not choices.
Hey, well then your compliance it makes you just as
Fair enough.
complicit.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I was So
Take a
late.
quick second to ask everybody to make sure you're thumbs upping, sharing, liking the stream. I want to thank everybody for joining us.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thank you everybody for being here. Definitely a big thanks to the full 42 for being here. It's
Cool.
always a
Yeah.
pleasure to host you guys. And we were on your show. That was super fun. I was terrible at those games, but that's okay. I had fun playing.
I always love a trivia game that Tim sucks at.
Shut up.
You know, I am generally pretty bad at most trivia, but board game trivia, I tend to hold my own. Especially when we talk about designers. That's like, to me, it's like following a band or like a musical group I'm really into. As soon as I find a designer that makes a game that I like, I want to see everything else that they can come up with. So
Yep.
I
We
follow
can't all be
as a-
bangers because even some of our favorites have ones we don't care for.
For sure. But anyways, let's get into some.
Partner.
Oh, let's get into some news. I know that Googs down there has got some very big news to share. Does anybody else have news they want to go? We give Mike like the last word. Let him kind of close out the news segment.
Right, because it'd be hard to follow up with that.
Yeah.
Is a new owlbear news?
Ooh.
Yep.
Now, is that a druid that is shapeshifted into an owlbear? Since
I mean, it's actually from the movie, so yes.
Yes.
Very cool.
And I got it on sale, $9.
Oh, that's even better.
Nice.
Price is right.
Great.
That's cool.
That's my news.
Did I see correctly? They're coming out with another one of those movies.
I believe they're doing a show.
Oh, it's a show.
Cool. Ooh,
Yeah.
even better.
Even better.
Yes. Even
I knocked you off track.
better. Rice or Bobby, you guys got anything?
No.
No, off the top of my head.
I know that our guests here do not always take the time to plug their own projects on their own show, but on our platform, they're going to, damn it.
That's right.
So Mike has a game that's live on GameFound right now. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we can for sure.
Yeah, we should.
We
Is it-
can. We are.
I can talk about what I'm allowed to talk about, I guess.
No, I mean it's up though, right?
Yeah, it's up there. I mean, the video they posted the setup and how to play video, and then they posted a very spoilery turn, the game example. So if you wanted to learn about how the shit worked, I would stay away from that. If you want to stay away from some spoilers, they're kind of light. They don't ruin anything, but if you want to experience the narrative in its raw form, maybe not watch the example, and then you could go from the start without any, I don't know, eggs.
Is there a part into the example that we can stop? Like, does it go, do you want to go A or B, and we can stop it there before they make a choice and we see what that is? Or is it just right from the start you're going to see?
No, you can. I mean, it's pretty quickly. Like if you do the how to play, it'll give you everything you need to know of the game, rather than like I can tell you all the other stuff without it being literally read from what the game is. But Jamie did a great job in explaining it, setting it up. You get a great look at the map, and how Miguel made the map just pop. The colors are great. The Alexander cards are good. Like everything it gives you a great idea of what's going to be in that. It gives you a good idea of what's going to be in that box. There's going to be a lot more than what's shown. With the way that they do things with the unlocks, the envelope unlocks, and Jamie talks about the box unlocks and stuff like that. So it gives you a great idea how to set up the game and how it's going to go. And then it's not too spoilery. Like, sure, like you'll get some stuff out of it, but when you go to pick your character and you're given those little clues on where to start, maybe in the world, you'd have to start in the same spots that Jamie does. And go to that city and have that encounter in that part of the city and be at a certain level. Like there's so many things that would have to happen in order for it to matter. And also turn one, you're still kind of experiencing it. You're still your humble little character that's trying to make a name for themselves. So there isn't much that's going to be ruined. You'll be okay with watching it and not having the experience ruined when you go to play it. Unless it's like, oh, I remember this. Like, okay, I'm just going to have that thing. Like, the likelihood that it's exactly the way that this is small, but
I mean, the likelihood of me remembering it by the time it gets here is pretty small too.
Correct. And it's the beginning of the game, and everybody's asymmetric. So every character has a certain starting point for their tracks. And one of the characters that Jamie has there starts with one in military, one in religion. I could be saying this wrong, but the character starts with one track being at a 1, one track being at a 1, and one track being at a 0. The other characters don't. They're asymmetric. So in the beginning of the game, most of your encounters are low enough where you're not going to have that epic, oh my God moment, because you're just starting the game. So you're not going to be in an 8, 9, 10 to have some of that really cool experiences. And even on the other side of things, some of those experiences, like you could be rocking military and you could be on a 9 on military, and you're going to go into the city and you're going to have a military experience, and you're going to think you're going to just rule the city, and you're too strong, and it's actually negative. So like you don't know what's going to happen with the narrative, the way the narrative is structured, and the way that they segment the some of them have just 1-2. Some of them have a low, medium, high experience. Some have a low, high experience rather than 1-2. They have a low, high experience, and you don't know until you know, right? Until you're in it. And then there's that die that's kind of helping you add to. You could also just stumble and fall and roll a crit fail. Like there's a lot of things in this game that, unless you're that type of person that can remember this encounter in the north of this city, I needed to have a 7, and you're going to go there and have that same experience, which may help your quest, probably not, unless you're the same character doing the same thing. But once you have that encounter, like a token goes down there, if it's successful, no one else can have an encounter there. Like if you go to Gnosis and you have a north encounter and you're successful, you put your token down, that's it. No one else can go there and have that encounter. So that encounter is done for the game. And you might have had a shit encounter, or you might have had a great encounter because it's later in the game. Like, who knows? Could be part of your quest. It could not be.
So give us a quick sort of like elevator pitch as to like what kind of game it is, like what's the play style. I mean, I think some people can kind of figure it out a little bit from what you were just saying, but just in case, if you're like, when you're pitching the game, what kind of game is it? Like mechanics and
it's party dexterity, right, Mike?
Party deck building.
Yep.
Party dexterity.
It's a drinking game. Yep. All those great things. Social deduction. No, it's a narrative game. It's in the vein of Tales of Arabian Nights. That's where this game was birthed out of. We know I had heard that AJ was looking. One of his Grail projects was a Tales of Arabian Nights style game, but in Greek mythology. So I talked to the co-designers, Bobby and Keith. Keith's got a master's in antiquities, so this is right up his alley. And obviously AJ's got a huge love of Greek mythology. Julie, who's on the Van Ryder team, is also a big fan of Greek mythology. So we had the idea to make a game, and this is my personal opinion. This is not how you'd pitch it, but that was better than Arabian Nights. I'm not a fan. I don't think the stories connect. I think the narrative is disconnected in that game. Good concepts, and it's fun. It's kind of like, it's like Talisman, right? Like Chris and I have talked about Talisman. Like you don't really have to participate in Talisman. You make a right or a left choice, and that's your game. So we created this thing that's connecting the stories a little bit better in Greek mythology, but not necessarily in the time of that. Like this is 300 BC, so it's during ancient Greece, but like you're not sitting on the throne of Olympus. You're a character in ancient Greece where Alexander's father just got murdered. And now there's this rumbling of Alexander, doing the thing and going across, the cities and that stuff. So you're starting off humbly. You have player choice in certain encounters you want to have. There's some clues on your board that lead you in a certain direction. And then there's kind of, if you think of a tech tree where like 3 things will lead you to 2 and 2 things will lead you to 1, your player board has 3 tier 1 quest options. And if you can do any one of those 3, you've successfully done tier 1 to lead you to tier 2. And then tier 2 has 2 options. And they're specific, like one of them is save a life. So in your encounters, if you happen to save a life, you've now done that tier. And you get to put this little map tile on your character board that's looks like you're like painting a story. And one of those pictures, it's there. I think it might have been up a little bit more, but you're painting a picture of your character, like your character's history. And your objective is to become the great. Like you want to have more legacy than Alexander at the end of the game, and you become the great. So you want to solidify your legacy in the game. And by doing that, you're going to cities, you're having encounters, you're making choices. Like, do you want to kill or save? Do you want to talk or run? Like, I'm kind of keeping it very simple, so I'm not.
No, yeah, you're fine. You're fine. I just wanted everybody to kind of have a general idea of what we were.
Yeah, you meant space elevator pitch, right?
Space
yeah. Exactly.
Your balls, Mike.
I hate you, Chris. But yeah, I mean, and in typical Van Ryder style, like the 3 things you just scrolled down, there are envelope unlocks, there are box unlocks, and then there's map unlocks. Like there's there's stuff in this game that you might not come across in your first couple plays, because you might remember some rumblings of something, and you got to go explore that thing, and you might not be strong enough or wise enough or religious enough to have that experience. But then you have a successful thing like that where you gain a legacy, cool, and then you unlock a thing. Like, how cool is that going to be? Because that's not on the map. Like, you have to get there. You can't just go there. You have to do a thing. And there's a lot of secret stuff happening in the game too.
Nope. Sounds awesome. And Van Ryder doesn't do anything half-assed, right? So it's gonna.
So there on the left there, so you got your character card, and your character card has like an ability that you'll unlock if you can do all 3 tiers. Then on the left, it's a dual layer board, and underneath your character's name or who you are, there's a tier 1, and there's 3 options. And if you do any one of those, you'll put a thing on top of it. And then that'll lead you to tier 2. So you can't do tier 2 stuff until you do tier 1, a thing from tier 1. Then you have 2 options in tier 2. That'll lead you to tier 3. And if you can establish tier 3, then you flip your character card over, and you have like this thing that you can do now. Most of them are some sort of upgrade to your character. And then the board underneath there, not only does it have a player aid on what you do on your turn, but you have your 3 different tracks: your military, your religious, and your political. And as you have these encounters, sometimes you need to make sacrifices, and you have a choice of like burning a religious influence to gain 2 military influence, like Jamie said in the video. Or you're just having an encounter and you'll gain a military influence, or you'll gain something. You could unlock a card. You could, there's an Alexander token in your location. If you go there, you have to encounter something to do with Alexander. So there's a lot going on. It could be in your way of a city you need to go to for your questing. Like, the games are always going to be different.
Sure. Nope. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds very cool.
It's neat. It's really
What's the
neat.
max player count?
4. 1 to 4. They have a solo in there where you want to have more legacy than Alexander. You want to have more legacy than Alexander at the end. Like, that's what you want to do. But the solo version, I'm not too familiar with what they added to the solo, but you're basically going up against Alexander.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah. It's neat stuff. I mean, again, I have a little bias in this one, but
What?
it's fun. It's a fun one.
Mhm.
There's a lot to it.
Well, there's not like a prison simulation, is there?
Do you want to be?
He only backs things that have prison simulation.
Wow. Okay.
Well, they say that about Arabian Nights, right? They call it like the prison simulator because there's things you do, you randomly get locked up, and then you're just stuck in the prison the whole game, and it's just not fun.
Yeah. No, and that was kind of like, we've talked about it. Chris and I have talked about it on the show a while back about that game and what it did. Like, the Matrix is fun. Like, they did a good job with the way the Matrix is supposed to work, but you don't have any agency in the choices you're making in that game. You're not like, you choose to do a thing, and then the narrative you read for that thing based on some algorithm is like not what you would have done as a hero. So these are a little bit more specific to, like, you're making those choices. You're going to these locations, and depending on how strong you are in certain things, like, you're gonna have a fail, or you're gonna have a success, and it's gonna potentially like change the board even on your way through this questing. So
Looks really good.
Sweet.
Evening, Brandon. Just for those who are joining us, we're talking about Tales of Myth and Legend from Van Ryder Games, because Mike is one of the co-designers. Yeah, looks really cool.
that's neat. We saw at QSCon, Evan, who's part of Van Ryder, he brought up a very early prototype of it, and Bobby, Keith, and I both ran through a few turns. You're playing
Nice.
9 rounds, basically. You're playing nine rounds of the game. So we played through a few of them just for, bumps and bruises, to get through the reading and to get through the how it's going to work and read and stuff like that. And it went really well. And a lot of the stuff that is there, I only saw last Monday when I had a meeting with Julie, and she was showing me a couple things. Like, I haven't seen a lot of this stuff.
Oh, sure.
Nice.
So it's been.
Did they
it's been
get rid
great.
of all your design mistakes?
All of it?
There are no design mistakes.
We handed over 110,000 words of design mistakes, and they took every one of them.
They said this is the
let's-
way.
Now that I've got the box cover and shot here, let's go ahead and revisit this comment here and then debate whether it looks more like Chris or Tim without his hat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Before the braces.
it's fair.
I think by the end of this episode, it's going to look more like Chris. I think Chris is going to get into some of these things and rant a little bit. So I think that might be more.
Start throwing.
Come off.
Start throwing some stuff around.
It kind of looks a little bit like Tim when he goes to touch the screen and like tap one of the comments a little bit.
This is true.
Hey,
forced perspective.
Mike, be the people's Mike and give Dave what he wants.
Yeah. What's funny is that Chris has half the eyes of Tim, and then that box art has half the eyes of Chris. So
that's right.
I don't remember which layout does that. Is the sad thing.
The Cyclops needs a contact. They can make their box last twice as long.
Mm.
I was just thinking that because they get contacts.
Oh my god!
Oh, I just really don't remember.
That was a reach. That was a reach.
I mean, look, he spent all of his creative juices on this list. He can't just come up with jokes off the top of
I'm
the head.
burnt out.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna take a stab here. It might take me a second to figure out which layout this needs to be. Dang it.
Bad.
Like
That's perfect.
It's
wow, I'm all
this,
blurry.
But I don't know how to switch it to
That's worse.
That's close. That's close. That's right near the Cyclops there.
There you go. It's right by him.
Just so I can kiss him.
Same, Dave. Same.
Me too.
That box cover, I remember seeing it for the first time at the gathering. Evan showed me. I think Evan showed me the first time. I didn't know who the artist was, and I looked at it. All I saw was a Cyclops, and all I saw were the heroes on the cliff ready to fight it, and I was blown away. Like Miguel Coimbra does. We talked about it on the show on Monday. Like the stuff that he's done, the art that he's done for the games. Like they've been big games, and then it wasn't until someone else showed me the cover. I think it was Julie. Maybe Julie showed me first and Evan showed me after. That's when I saw the other character in the Cyclops hand with the shield dropping down. Like he had grabbed one of the heroes. Like it just blew me away because the first time it was so gorgeous. Even the map. Like I just saw the map last Monday for the first time. They did such an amazing, like we had, whatever art on it, like colors, but he did such an amazing job making that stuff pop.
Yeah, there's no denying that is a good looking board game right there.
So good. So good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, the quest track is a thing. Yeah, I mean, I hope more will come out. I assume more will come out throughout the campaign. I think those videos they did a great job. Jamie did a great job in explaining how it works. You definitely get a good idea, especially if you're a gamer. You know how games work, so you should be able to see a track and icons or cards and how movement works. Like you'll be able to get an idea of it, and then what's really going to sing is as you get into it and the narrative takes over and you start hearing these stories and you have these examples of where your character has been and what they've gone through and how they've progressed and leveled up, and it's a pretty cool. It's a big one, but it's pretty damn cool. It's easy. Like I don't want to make it seem like it's this huge. It's simple. Like the way the game plays is simple, but there's a lot to it.
That's the best kind. That is the best kind, right, Mike? Crunch per rule.
Crunch per rule. Well, I'm gonna have this in my other tab here. I'm gonna be watching this number here. So hopefully you get a board game rundown bump. Every time this number goes up, I'll be keeping you posted.
Take credit for it.
Yeah, take the credit. I'm fine with that. Take the credit for it. No, thanks for bringing it up. Thanks for talking about it or letting me talk about it.
No, man. It's exciting. It's exciting. I love it when my friends have projects that they're putting out and we get the signal boost.
I'll be seeing AJ at Gamma, and I'm assuming he'll have a copy or the copy that was used in this video. I don't know how many they have. And I will be taking many pictures to show off.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great question, Wayne. Van Ryder Game is not a sponsor for the channel,
But
they could be.
But they could be. That's always the answer. Not a sponsor, but they could be.
Oh, you guys are going to Gamma, aren't you?
My car just died on Monday, so no.
Oh,
No, I'm not going to Gamma, and I'm bummed.
can't get a rental.
Gamma's a tough one for us dudes with a 9 to 5. Unfortunately, that schedule is really hard to work around.
Yeah, it's during the week. It's a weird one for sure.
Well, I was going to try to get down there for a few days, right? Like just take like Monday and Tuesday off, and like go down, basically be there like Sunday, Monday, come back Tuesday, kind of thing. And the oil plug of my car came out while I was driving. And I lost all my oil and my engine seized up.
Oh,
So apparently you need oil.
Yeah, so it's not a matter of like a rental. It's a matter of like bracing for the repair costs. Now I have warranties. It's covered on some stuff, but like I'm waiting for all that to get submitted and see how much is covered, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And how much I'm going to be in for on this repair. But the end of the day, I'm still here. I'm breathing. Life is good, man. That's
makes sense.
Can't let it get you down. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Wayne, I was going to mention that we had the Beans and Dice podcast on our show last week. And so my name, Beans and Rice, seemed very fitting. And I was just going to run with that for a little while. It has a nice ring to it.
And he's also feeling gassy.
Does that mean you're giving up your title of the People's Mic then? If you're changing,
Mike has more on the people. He's like, screw them.
He can be the people's beans.
He's turned heel. He's turned heel now.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is his heel turn.
Giving it up. That's a strong verbiage there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great.
Well done.
Oh, shit.
Stuff.
Someone's got to
All
be
right.
the People's Mic, no?
Somebody's got to.
Somebody's got to
You're
do
gonna
it.
give up the mantle, then.
I don't know. Yeah, probably.
Man,
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
he abandoned that
Well-
quick too.
Wow.
Jazz, I used that one. I have used that one before, but it was a great suggestion. But yeah, and that was a really fun podcast we did with them last week. So, but we've got a really good topic for tonight, and we're gonna try to one up that this week
We do.
with our top 5
shit.
worst production mistakes.
Oh.
So, as usual, we'll probably start with Bob. We'll go clockwise. We'll end with me, and we'll see how this goes.
Badly.
Anything else before we jump into this, guys?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. You've
I'm-
successfully killed 30 minutes. We can.
As we do. I'm curious where you guys all came from with your selections. Was it, like I said, was it more of a personal pet peeve on stuff you don't like, or stuff that is industry wide? Or it's interesting for me.
Combo platter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and are any of you planning on mentioning a specific example of that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
There will be
actually,
names.
all of mine are specific mistakes
Yeah.
Okay.
with specific games. Yeah.
Mine are mistakes I see in multitudes of games.
Yeah.
Is that the way to say it?
There's more than one
Multiple.
example in some of these.
Okay.
And I might say a few examples, but I didn't even write those down, so they might just come to mind.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's a mistake as it's like as much of a deliberate choice
Yeah.
that may be a mistake in hindsight. It's hard saying.
Maybe a campaign decision / mistake.
I mean,
Well-
there is I don't know if they're mistakes. There is a specific kind of build you have to make for a Kickstarter game versus retail, right? So that I think that's just your choice of which one you like better.
Mm-hmm.
The marketing is far different. For
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, well, we'll jump into this and we'll make it official. Bob, give us your number 5.
All right. So for my number 5, I'm going to specifically call out Mansions of Madness because the production they decided to do with those minis is god awful. I don't like them. They're very fragile. They break off the base. Descent Second Edition has a few of their models that are like that also. But for the most part, Mansions of Madness across the board, I just can't stand their minis. I just think they dropped the ball with that. I kind of wish that maybe CMON take it over and make it better. But yeah, look at those the monsters. They all want to fall off and break on it. They're super fragile. I don't care for them.
Those bases kind of suck too.
They suck a lot. Yeah.
I can say that. Oh, go on.
I was going to say I never played the second edition, but I never had that problem in my first edition. Are they different?
I have second edition, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but the one that Mike's got pulled up is what I've got. But like you see, like the people that barely connected a little bit, the little snake thing, like he wants to break off there all the time. Like it's just they're awful. You know, just
and then
the whole thing one piece.
Well, it's kind of like Wayne is saying here, where it's like trying to find. You need the tile anyways because it's got the stats on it.
Yeah. So if the mini breaks off, so what? You just use the tile part. So the mini's just kind of a waste, you know.
Yeah. So I have all of the minis for Arkham. It's the same minis they used in Mansions. They just had them repainted and they sold them for Arkham Horror. And mine have never been like none of my. Next time I play it, I'm sure they'll all get fucking ruined. But
like, look, it's fine.
I've never had a wing break off or a talon break off or a staff break off. My problem with those, and this isn't even on my list. I didn't even think about it. Is you're supposed to put those monster tokens in the thing. It's supposed to slide in.
Right. It's terrible.
Some of the stuff, but it's not the plastic is not manufactured properly enough where the little dimples where it connected during printing is raised. When you put it in your token, it scratches the token or it doesn't fit. That with these, like I would change that almost anything on my list. Those because of that trying to slide those things in where like Tim said, they do have that little lip in the back where you can put it vertically rather than sliding it in, but it's supposed to be some hidden information. And they don't slide in because there's that little nipple of a black thing that's in the way, and you can't and if you don't know it and you try to force it, it scratches the whole art.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah, I enjoy the game. Like I played the crap out of the game. I play it with some of my Magic buddies. I play it with Pat and Julia a few times. Like it's an enjoyable game, but I can't stand those things.
Interesting.
Andrew, regarding this comment, stay tuned.
Uh-oh. All right. So I'm going to go with my number 5. It is a classic game, but the original, I had to buy the upgrade kit to really just make this game, I don't want to say playable because you could play it, but it was really frustrating to play Betrayal at House on the Hill with the original like clips and the player cards because they just never stayed on really well. And then the upgrade kit made it so they were like dials and they work a lot better. I haven't messed with them in a while, but the upgrade kit is amazing and super good. But man, we used to just struggle like hell with those little clips. Yeah, those little clips around there, they just all over the place. They're either too tight or they're too loose. I know some people don't love this game, and that's fine. I enjoy the game and the chaos that it brings. You know, I just roll with it, and I enjoy the stories and the weird random stuff that, you know, that comes up. But those clips, man, drive me freaking crazy. And when they redid it, or when they offered that upgrade kit, I mean, hell, that's been probably eight years since that upgrade kit came out. But
I've never seen the upgrade kit.
And I don't know what the new edition looks like. Let me see. Where's it?
What is that?
It's got to be an Etsy upgrade or something.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, those
dials
are very
glued on or something. But yeah.
Yeah, I played the Legacy version more than I played the OG version, and the Legacy version didn't have that issue.
I haven't played Legacy, but I have the D&D version as well. And those are exactly the same, but for whatever reason, they work smoothly and they don't mess up the cardboard. So I don't know what they changed.
So
I've never seen that before. That's cool.
Yeah, so they just got dials for your.
I like dials.
for your stuff, and you've got like 2 versions of the character. So yeah, just way better. Huge improvement over messing with those clips. It's just those clips sucked, and it just was always disappointing because it's a game I like a lot, but it made it like people. It's tough when you're like trying to teach people a game and get them to buy in, and they're just struggling with like with a fiddly component.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, trust me, this game's really fun. Like, just ignore that annoying thing that's happening. It'll be fine.
Ignore this. Ignore the game doing this. All right.
Good point.
Is that me?
Yeah, it's on you.
All right. Inspired by Bob, I'll do mine, which is useless minis. And the biggest, not criminal, the one that does this for me is Vindication.
Oh,
Vindication is an entire box of minis you can throw away at the beginning of the game and still play the entire game. All bonus material, everything. They have not Simon. Simon uses those pieces.
No,
if
it's
you
like
ever move the mini from place to place, you've used it. In Vindication, you don't. You don't use it. You don't move it somewhere else. Yeah, see that? That's what you do with that. Underneath that mini, yeah, it just sits there. Underneath that mini is a tile that has a picture of that mini. You don't need them. And there's tons and tons of minis. Yeah, there's just, I've never used any of the minis in there. In fact, the strange thing is you see the little square medallion in a stand. That's you. That could have been a mini. And that moves around. So the things you move around are not the minis. Completely mind-blowing. But I've seen it in other things too. This one does it the worst.
Sure.
I've seen it in other things too. It's a little bit of a byproduct of trying to up your Kickstarter, I think, or your crowdfunding or whatever like that. Like just start throwing minis at it in a way.
So would you put the new Castles of Burgundy in that same bunch then?
I haven't played it. I haven't played it. And I mean, obviously there are things where people just go, I got to have the giant,
it looks cool,
Galactus, or it looks cool and stuff. Sure. But the thing is that game could have been $40.
Sure.
But instead that game was $100 or something like that. I don't remember what it is now. If you try to get it today in today's pricing, it would be, people could have enjoyed that game a lot more. I don't know. Production wise, it feels like you just made minis for mini's sake.
And,
I get that.
Chris, I nearly put this one on my list. I had a really bad experience in my only play of this game where a friend brought it out and he had backed all of the modules that it came out like about 2 years ago. And he wanted to use all of them in 2 players first play. We spent more time learning the game than we did playing it because a bad in-game trigger came up that ended the game in like 45 minutes. And there were so many components that just sit. They don't get moved. They don't get utilized. They don't switch territories. They just sit there. Like, for example, even those metal coins that just sit on the scoring track.
Yeah, metal coins you don't ever use. Yep.
You never handle them. They just sit on the scoring track. I feel almost vindicated by you having this one.
Boo.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
I would play this again, but that experience of like spending an hour and a half going through crap that we didn't even like, most of those modules didn't even get used during the game. And there are so many more pieces of like, this sits here until somebody claims it with 10 minutes left of the gameplay, where it'll then sit here. Like, no. Right. I also hate expenditure on things that just sit there and don't get moved between territories.
Yeah. And all of that aside, I love this game as a gameplay. I've played it many, many times. I have not piled all the modules on because I could see how bad that would be. But yeah, it's a really great game. Unfortunately, production mistake.
It's just always a bad idea on a first teach to bust out all of the things and increase rules overhead for no reason.
Yep.
But I'd play it again. No, Jim, this is not the one. I'll get more into that when it's my turn.
Oh, you're getting people ready for one. Okay.
Now I got a question, Chris, because you said, did you have a hand in any of this one?
Oh no, that's
Oh, okay.
Orange Nebula. I didn't touch that one. Nope.
Okay. I know you said that some of
I like
them.
my job. I'm not going to bring up anything I worked on.
Oh yeah, fair.
You guys can, and I'll probably agree with you. But
Oh, yeah. Andrew brought this one up to me. He was saying that in Captain Flip, there's certain tiles that have a totally different texture or like shimmer to them, and it breaks the game if you can tell what things are. Because you have to flip tiles, and it's supposed to be random what's on the other side.
Yeah, and I don't remember. I played it with Chris actually a couple times.
me?
Yeah, we played it at. Didn't we play it at Gathering?
I've never played that game in my life.
No, I don't. I played
Must have been a different bald guy.
They're all square tiles though. There's no different shapes, and they're all cardboard punch. They don't have texture.
I think it's like there's a different shine to them, or like almost a shimmery finish to certain ones. Some are more dull than others. Something to that effect.
I have to look again. I don't remember that. Also, if you're playing it that way.
No, I only played it once, and all of my other plays have been on BGA, so that's null and void for me.
Huh.
Oh no, I saw you playing this at a gathering. You and I never played that.
I thought we played.
Nah.
Different texture. I gotta look.
Trevor's
I don't remember there
textures.
being.
Okay.
They're all cardboard. They're all square, but I don't remember different textures on them.
I mean, I just played. Sorry, I just played the river glass thing, and those are all different shapes, which is a
Right. Just to kind of pull them out and drop them without trying to gain the system. But yeah, I mean, maybe if it's got some sort of like a gloss finish on there, if you feel real close, you can feel that.
Yeah, you shouldn't be feeling that much.
Yeah, just reach in, grab them, pull them out.
Yeah. And Dave, the publisher had copies, and they left them there. They had pre-production copies that they left because I think it was the week after it was releasing, or 2 weeks after it was releasing. So there were copies there.
Sweet.
Good pick.
Yeah. Mr. Mike. The new people's Mike.
Yeah.
people.
Okay, so I'm gonna come right out of the gate with something that mine are not specific, game specific. They are more production specific, and it's more of like, this should just be not done in the industry anymore. Don't do white text on yellow bits.
Oh God.
Just don't fucking do it. Don't. It
No.
looks like you can't read it. You can't see it across whether it's on a wooden meeple with a white silk screen. I get if everything else is white, and then you're getting an upcharge because you got to print black on yellow or another color, and there's another color change or whatever. Just don't use yellow. Don't put white on yellow cards. Don't put white on yellow bits. Don't
Just
put
orange
white on yellow. Yeah, use orange.
Yeah. Additionally, Mike, don't put white pips on yellow dice.
Don't. White on yellow. It's an overarching rule. Don't do it.
Mhm.
White on yellow.
Blinding. Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. Don't even do yellow on white unless there's an outline. Like if there's an outline, then you can get away with it. It just looks like trash. Don't do it.
Man, I'm trying to think of a game. Anybody know a game off the top of their head that does that?
I think Crusaders.
Dwellings of Elderville.
Dwellings.
No.
Yeah. That's not why I brought it up. It's been a pet peeve of mine for a very long time.
I didn't do that one, but I have done it in other games, and I understand.
Yeah.
Usually, it's a graphic design mistake. Whenever I was doing graphic design, and what happens is oftentimes you make those symbols as a graphic designer, and you give them to them, and then they pick player colors later, and you don't even know they go in there, or the player colors change for color blindness sake and stuff like that. But still a production mistake. But yeah, I get it.
No white on yellow.
I've been guilty of it.
I literally put "stop it" next to it.
Stop it.
Just stop it.
Nice.
But okay, doesn't it bother you whenever there's like black on yellow and then white on blue? Doesn't that bother you?
Yes, but it would
Depends on
bother
the
me
shade
more.
of blue.
It would bother me more if it was white on yellow and not black on yellow. And the solve is don't use yellow.
Right. That's what I would always say. Yes, don't use yellow because different colored icons mean something else, right? If you think about UI, like if I see a red book and a blue book as an icon on a card, I'm going to think those are two different things. Maybe I pay the book, maybe I get the book, that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you put them on pieces, as a graphic designer, you think, it's not going to look like this piece is the same as that piece.
There's
right?
no continuity. Yeah.
That's why it makes.
Yeah, or it could mean discard or draw or trash and add. Like black and white could mean black could be add, white could be like
Right.
But that's also the graphic design problem. Like make that all work. Just don't like going into it. I don't care what level you're at. Just don't like if you're a prototype and you know you're a designer and you have your prototype, cool. But production wise, there should not be white on yellow.
Orange is better anyway.
I agree. What did I just play? Oh, Rebirth. Did I tell you about Rebirth? Rebirth has orange as a player color and the fox is its logo.
Nice.
Nice.
Pick that up because you guys have been talking about it, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
It's good. It's good. Do Ireland first. Don't go right into Scotland. Scotland's a lot of brain burning. There's a lot more to it. Like learn the game and then play Scotland. But yeah, white on yellow. Don't do white on yellow anymore, please. Please, please, please don't do white on yellow.
I couldn't find a specific example, so I was just flipping through dwellings pictures. And these aren't egregious at all because of the black outline, but I was just
there is no
trying
black
to find
outline.
it.
No, there's no black outline.
And
this
it certainly looks like it.
This picture's been treated in Photoshop. They're not that bright.
You're looking at the card in the background, Mike. And yes, there's a black outline, but look at the white on the meeples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no black on that.
Yeah, it's
if you're doing white text on a yellow card and it's on a table and someone has to read it, not only is it like it's problematic to be here with a white text on a yellow card, but if it's on the table and it's something that I need to see, you can't see it. Now you're leaning up in your chair, you might knock your stuff over. Like there's so many water ripple effects of doing white on yellow. Just don't do it.
I'm pretty sure we did that in Critter Kitchen too.
Don't do white on yellow. It's so bad. And you know it's bad.
Well, in Critter Kitchen, we have 7 different player colors. Eventually, you run out. You have to use yellow. So
I thought your prototype didn't have white on yellow, or it was white on yellow, and I made a point to let you know that white on yellow.
I'm sure you let me know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's shipping this week too, isn't it?
Yeah. It's been shipping since mid-January, but hitting US.
I see what Mike's pulling up.
I don't.
Uh-oh.
All right, so I guess it's time for my number 5.
Yep.
My number 5 is Van Ryder's decision not to have Board Game Rundown cover Tales of Myth of Legend. I'm kidding, and I'm gonna have a joke answer for all 5 of these. So that was a great way to start.
Can we get people to call in while Mike's talking again?
Yeah, seriously, that was amazing.
I figured you might appreciate that. Chris, you're next. So we did. I did talk about how, and Jim kind of alluded to, where we did an episode that was like great games with bad components, and I was really, really trying to not have any overlap. But because of the price of this game and the cost to the consumer, if you buy this add-on, I would be remiss if I did not mention Veiled Fate and their metal miniatures, because these metal miniatures, I believe if you buy them separate, are $60. And yes, they look sweet, but the usability of these, I'm sorry, but those 2 greens in certain lighting, you can't tell those apart at all.
Not even
this purplish and red, along with this orange and this yellow in certain lightings, forget about it. You cannot tell these apart. And just imagine, and yes, Andrew, they did fix it. That is one reason there's a 2nd edition and a reprint for this game, and they did change the coloring. So I will give IV Studios credit, because otherwise their component quality and everything they publish, fantastic. but we'll see. I don't think the color of these metal miniatures has been officially announced in second edition. But just imagine paying that much for this add-on, and you are literally left with miniatures that I would not suggest using in any way, shape, or form during gameplay.
I've never played
and
the game. Can't you tell the difference between them from their shapes, though?
You can, but what you often find yourself doing is you've got this player aid, and the player aid has like the face of the character with their color behind them as the icon of what they are. So you find yourself looking for their color more often than not.
Gotcha.
And in this game, you don't just control, it's a deduction game where you're trying not to let other players know what color you are. So you're often moving pieces that are not you. And if you give any hint or context as to what you're intentionally trying not to move, it can completely ruin this game. And so, yeah, they are really pretty. And I really enjoyed this game, but the color of these miniatures was a huge mistake.
So what Mike is saying is that in QSCon Light, because that's where we played it, you could not tell because it was such shoddy accommodations. Mike's words, not mine.
Right. So stay tuned for my number 3 when I talk about the lighting.
Because Mike is basically now like Hollywood Hulk Hogan, when Hulkster went over, and he dyed his and he dyed his beard black, and he came out, and was pushing down little kids and stuff. Like that's Rice now. That's what he's become.
I picked up on that too, Tim. I do agree. I played this at my house, so it was not at a convention with shitty lighting. It was at my own, and you're right. Like the way that you have to hide who you are, and the way that the colors, I mean, they were similar. And if you give any indication that you're checking the same thing multiple times or something like, or you're asking the wrong question at the right time, it gets really suspicious. But that also, like, I talked on Monday's show about the Reckoners, and the Reckoners has metal components as well. And I actually think the PVC or the resin pieces were better. They're more vibrant. They're much easier to tell apart. And it was the same thing with Red Rising. Red Rising had metal components that didn't match the color. Like it's a big, I don't know if it's just a metal component thing. But yeah, that's
it's
good.
Very hard to match metal colors with any other kind of like wood colors and stuff like that. I've gone through months going back and forth with manufacturers. It's painful.
Then why do it? I guess it's more rhetorical, but why do it? Are you really doing it for the upcharge, for the add-on, for the money? It's just going to create negativity, right?
You get put in this black hole of like, well, maybe this next time is the way to do it, right? Because like you go, okay, I've got this wood token and I want a metal piece and I want them to be the same color. Make it happen, manufacturer. And then they bring it back and you're like, this is black and white. Like, and then you go, surely this time, right? And then like 6 more times back and forth. You get caught in this,
I feel like if you want to do that, you just got to take the big swings with the color, make them drastically different, or put stripes on them, or do something to make them, separate.
Yeah. So
great
Ivy
game.
Studio, great production, great game. Really enjoyed it. Very different in the deduction category for sure. But when you're paying this, you expect usability.
Struggle,
And a great company. I mean, just all around.
Yeah. They are. They really are. They have great people there for sure. So I do expect them to make it right, but we'll see.
Yeah, Wayne, I'm with you. Don't get me going. And I love Damien. I love almost everything that Stonemaier puts out there, but the retail version of Red Rising was way better than the deluxe just because of those issues. Not only was the metal a problem, but can we talk about the insert? Holy shit.
For sure.
You might be stepping on toes there.
That's why I shut up.
It's not your turn.
All right, moving on. It's number 4.
So it's pretty funny that Mike brought that up because my number 4 was literally a 3-parter with Red Rising Collector's Edition, Veiled Fate, and then also Anachrony. So the old, like the original cubes
Yes.
of Anachrony, they all have that same problem where I could
Awful.
never tell them apart. Like I love those games; they were fun to play. Anachrony is my number one game, but those OG cubes are just so hard to tell apart, and it's like, why? Now the new Infinity Box came out with like the cubes that actually have the little like lines on them, so you can tell like which ones are titanium, which ones are like the steel or whatever. So that fixed all that. But I bought the collector's edition of Red Rising because when I heard that was announced, I read the books, thought the books were great, bought the game, and while the cards are great, the cubes sucked, could not tell them apart. Everybody else was even like, man, we're having a hard time with those cubes too. Veiled Fate, we played that at QsCon, and everybody was like, wow, now we know what it feels like to be Bob, because they could not tell the pieces apart, because you're looking at that card and you're like, is that person? Is that guy? And like you can look at the bottom because it had a more clear icon on the bottom, but you don't want to give away all that hidden information that you're interested in that piece at all. And especially because that type of game that it is. So yeah, that's my number 4 is just those failed productions of those. You try to make these great pieces to be like a step up, and it just actively hinders the gameplay. And it's unfortunate. Because I like to make when it, it makes it harder to play the game. It defeats the purpose.
You're not the only one, Bob. That's why they had to do that deluxe. And it's almost like I had this on my list, and I found some other suitable options. I was looking for pictures of the first edition cubes. It's almost like it's been scrubbed from the internet. It's like it never existed. I cannot find pictures of those first edition cubes. It was the gray ones and the green ones. Like they just look identical under most lighting situations.
Yep. I literally ended up taking like because I think it was Stonemeyer just makes like those like fancy bit trays.
Okay.
And I just took like random cubes or other little bits and said, okay, these are uranium. These are this one. I just play it that way instead of trying to decipher these cubes apart. And actually, like I think it's smartphone there's an issue with those too, where they try to use those cubes that look kind of like that, but there's like the smoky black ones and like the smoky green ones, and it's just like, why pick colors that are so similar where if it's not on a white background, you can't discern which one it is? Like it doesn't make sense to me. And I actually pointed that out to Yuval for How to Save a World because we were playing and I was having a really hard time telling 2 of the cubes apart, and I was like, just you want to make most of them clear like that, do that, and then to make the meteor cubes a solid black, so you can't tell them apart. So you can easily tell them apart. Besides like the sort of clear black ones and then the sort of clear like green ones, because they're both so dark that unless you put on a white background, you can't tell which one it is.
Well, and also there are in some cases, like if you only have 2 different cubes, for instance, make one of them the acrylic gems. They're a different shape, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't all have to be cubes in some cases. Sure. Sometimes they do.
Like an orb thing, yeah.
Right. Make them a different shape, a different size, or something.
Right.
These are it right here. These are supposedly the green ones.
So.
Yeah, exactly. You're not alone here, Bob. Yeah. You're not alone. And and the thing is, you put them all on your player board where they just get jumbled together, and at glance, it's tough. They had to correct it. They did correct it.
Yep, they did a good job with the upgraded pieces. So
it took a reprint, but they did get it right. And it is a phenomenal game. Bob and I share this as our number 1 all time.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to stay on the color train then. Because this wasn't an issue for me, but a game that I really enjoyed that I couldn't play with one of my friends is a bummer, right? So the first edition of Scoville from Tasty Minstrel, it's got all these cool peppers, right? And they're all these different colors. The problem is the color of the peppers are integral to what you're trying to do. And there's no way for someone with color issues to discern the difference. So the great thing is Trick or Treat Studios reprinted this game. They got the publishing rights and they made all the peppers. They're like plastic, but they've got the letter of the color in them. So the green peppers have a G, the red peppers have an R, the white peppers have a W. It's very easy to now tell. And it's got Vincent Dutray art now. So like even better, right? So I'm really excited to actually get this to the table again. But but that original version of Scoville, like great game and playable for some people, but unplayable, you know, for others. And it's just kind of tragic because it's like, oh, Bob, you'd really love this game. Womp womp.
Yeah, they try to fix it with like the height of the peppers, but even on some of those recipes, it's hard to tell. Like, oh, is that like a tier 1? Is that a tier 2? Like, it's just
not enough. It's not enough.
It's not enough. Exactly.
No, I'll just stop you right there. It ain't enough.
Yeah.
But they really did a good job. It was kind of funny because when I know some people at Trick or Treat and they were telling me, oh, we've got the reprint. We're really excited about it. I'm like, okay, well, do me a favor. Please tell me you fixed the color issue. And they're like, oh, yeah. Like we heard about that before. Like, so they were kind of talking to me about it like a year ago. And then to now see it and what they've done with it, it's awesome. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'll be great to actually play that. But how to be like, is that this one? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorely needed a reprint.
Yeah.
All right. Are we on to me?
Yeah.
Mine. Okay, so I'm going to go off of pieces for a little bit and talk about something very specific that bothers me in rule books. Which it's more of a writing decision, but that's part of production. So it stopped trying to entertain me with the rule book. Stop writing 50 pages of theme to make me enjoy the rule book. I did not buy a rule book. I bought a game. Your rule book is something I have to suffer through as quickly as possible to go enjoy the game. I didn't buy a comic book. I didn't buy something to make me laugh as I go through the pages. Shut up and just tell me how to play the game. It drives me insane whenever I'm sitting here going, yep, I don't need this sentence. Don't need this sentence. You're wasting my time. Okay, there's the rule. Move on. If you want to put theme in there, awesome. Put it in a little box I can ignore. Because some people like that theme and they can get it there. Mm-hmm. But give me the choice to ignore what's useless, right?
Yeah.
Bob, say it so I don't have to.
So the Andromeda's Edge rulebook?
No. I was just going to say the box with off to the side.
Don't put super pertinent information in a box off to the side that I have to know.
Yeah. Put your lore there and put your like
lore there and the
fun little jokes and tidbits, but not like a key rule because I'm going to ignore that shit because I'm reading all the other paragraphs. Okay, what were you going to say about Andromeda's Edge?
One is like when you're doing a components thing, just list the components. Don't splash them across the page because then I'm searching all over trying to find stuff and looking between and finding things. That was one of the most difficult things getting through that, Andromeda's Edge rulebook to try to play the game. Mike and I love that game, but man, we struggle trying to figure out what piece are they talking about. Is this it over here? Or is this it over here tucked in underneath this thing? Like, man. Yeah.
So even though I fought against that, I will defend Peter in saying that that's his preference. Sure. If you look at Dwellings and the other ones, and so the first print of Dwellings, it's the same way. The second print of Dwellings, I redid it. But whenever you go through like his stuff, that's his preference. He's making his games. I agree with you, but
listen, as a comic book reader, I love that when you open up a comic and you got that splash page and it's like a huge battle. But you want to see like all the different stuff that's going on. You got like this crazy stuff, especially if there's like multiple heroes and villains involved and all that stuff. But not necessarily on a components list.
Can't help but like refer to that component page as like the splatter page because it just looks like it's all just splattered on there.
I thought take a picture and start labeling things.
Right. I won't take too long to go through this whole thing, but I thought of one specific example, Chris, and pardon me, the Polish rulebook is the only one I could find, but it proves my point. It's the Godfather Corleone's Empire from Simon. They plastered this thing with art. And so it's like there's more art than words in this thing. And it's on like almost every page. The amount of text per page, they could have condensed this down to like a 6-page rule book. In fact, there's a player aid forum where they condensed it down to 2 pages of just text.
I was going to say, there's not that much rules to this game. It's pretty straightforward.
No, it's 28 pages in this file, though. It's ridiculous.
Take that art and put it on the cards.
Yes.
Oh, Bob.
So one thing I'll say is you have to do rule books in sets of 4 pages, right? So some people will shove a little bit of art in there to make 10 pages into 12 or something like that. But 28 pages that could have been 2 is a bit extreme.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally just a text, all rules, copy paste, 2
I
pages.
can't even read those rules.
Egregious.
I
Those
agree with
are
Eric.
words.
doing their rule books.
I
and
agree with
type.
Eric. I can't stand a component list of just text. And to his point,
No, I need
have
pictures.
No idea.
Give me a
I don't know what
picture.
you're calling
Yeah,
a player token. Like I don't know what it is. I want pictures. I want to see the setup. Like there are definitely visual learners and just people that can just read from text and get it.
Yeah.
But you have to define your stuff really well, because if you
Yeah.
just have a list of components and
Give me
in your
this.
setup you grab the player tokens, you're like, what the fuck is a player token?
Right.
It has to be defined. There has to be some sort of image that goes
Yes.
along with it.
A picture of one
Yes.
side, a picture of the other side, and then player token. Or
Yep.
Yep.
Can I sneak one more in there, which is
Absolutely.
it's still rulebook, which is when you show those things, don't tell me all these facts about them that I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, they go and they express all the stuff about, well, here's, you know, a card about, you know, the islands and then the islands and all this information that is gameplay information. But because I don't know how to play the game yet, it means nothing to me.
Right.
And I have to go back
that works
and read
perfect.
all of
Because
that.
then you got to go back and find it later when you're further on in the rules. Yes.
And yes, I know games I've worked on have done this. I don't actually touch the rule books for the most part. I help early drafts, but
Hey, plausible deniability is what it's all about.
That works.
No, that's a good one. I'm 100% with you on all of that.
All right. Mr.
Rulebook
Mike?
What you got, Mike?
I can continue with rule books, but I'll save it.
I
do
could go
wanna-
on.
I mean, one thing is the way things are presented in text form. For example, the title, which I just noticed while Chris was talking, because I don't listen to Chris when he talks. The title of this episode is the top 5 worst production mistakes with the full 42. It's as if you're pointing out our mistakes of during our
It's
show.
not like all our mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
my
love
God.
it.
Now
Nice of
you've
you to
caught
tell
on to
me
what
what I
Mike
have
was
to do.
trying to do.
Uh-huh.
That's
I
funny.
see it. I saw it late.
Oh,
This is an intervention.
With, not of, Mike.
Yeah.
With, not of.
All right, so I'm gonna go with box lift.
Lead lift. Yes.
So when certain games are shipped, they're shipped with the punch board in the game that raises the box a little bit, right? And then when you take the punch boards out and you punch them and put them into where they're supposed to go, whether they're your own like sandwich bags or whatever, they don't account for the space that the punch boards took up. Right? So now let's say there's 5 boards in there and your box lift came up a little bit, and now you take those 5 boards out, punch them and put them in the stuff, and your box sits properly, but now you have 4 boards of space there, so when you tilt that thing, all the stuff spills out. It's as if they didn't. So just let me know that they need to be kept and put under by putting it on the board itself, like a caution or a warning or something that says, if you have the space, which you should, or plan ahead for, just say keep this, or give me a little image of like insert or something, because now you have too much space, not enough space. Like, how did that not work out?
I do that by default. Like I punch my boards out and then I'll lift it up and put those underneath. And then if I put the lid on and it lifts, I pull it back up, take 1 or 2 out, put it back on there. But I do that by default now, where I always save those punch boards after I empty them and stick them on an empty insert.
I'll never throw them out initially. I'll put everything back in the box before I do. And for that reason, like I want that instruction book to kiss the top of the box. Like, it needs to be right there. Maybe
But you know what's worse though is that when you get a game that has no lid lift and you punch it all out and you put it all in, and then you put the box on, the lid on, and now you have lid lift. What the fuck happened?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just bad planning for the punch boards, right? Like you have all this stuff. You're so worried about what fits on a board and how it's going to fit in your 12 by 12 or your 10 by 10 or however thick it is or whatever, that you're not thinking about that. Like, oh, well, once you take them out of that nice flat plane of existence that they live on and you put them in a bag, they don't sit flat anymore. They sit in a jumble. And now it's going to take up space like that. Yeah. The planning for the punch boards. I mean, I have 2 things that I combine here. the planning for the punch boards and the box lift, like that those things being in that box, planning for what that's going to do. You get the white box sample. You should be able to play around with that to make sure everything fits in the box, is nice in the box, how much room is there after the punch boards are gone. Like these are all things that should be like thought of.
You guys are gonna love Iridia.
Well, I mean,
Don't punch it all.
That's a whole nother episode, isn't it?
That box lid sits on top of all the items. It
Right.
never touches the bottom.
Right.
Like by this much. Like,
Jeez.
So I guess Eric got a game without a lid. That's amazing.
Yeah.
what? How'd that even happen?
Yeah. Project L and Planet Unknown both had that Lazy Susan with all the bits that had no lid on it.
Oh, okay.
They didn't have a lid. They had an STL file you could print up, which was cool. And then my friend Bob, he posted a picture just, I think today on the QSCon Discord. People were using shower caps to fit over the Lazy Susan to keep all the shit in.
Oh, wow.
It just comes out. Yeah.
Oh, that's rough, though. I mean, you pay a good amount of money for a game like that.
I had to, as anal as some people are about this, I had to at least find one image to try to trigger some people. So
yeah. Like, I get it. I understand it, right? Like, putting your punch boards in there and having a lift because of shipping or whatever. Like, I get that. It could cause problems with damage to the box because there isn't anything stopping it from poking. Like, if there's pressure, it could dent or rip the side of the box. But then once those punch boards are out, like, you're so smart in planning, once we get rid of the punch boards, it'll sit flat. Cool. But there's just something being missed in some of those punch board planning opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to keep it, then keep it. Cool. Have us keep it. Have us put it in and have us take up that space. That's fine. Then let us know that. Like, put it on the. Don't assume that we know what we're doing. Put it on there. It says, do not throw the. Like, put a garbage can and a line through it. Like, don't throw this out. Do something.
You know, it's funny you say that like that, Mike. And I don't assume we know what we're doing. Because real quick side tangent. We for a little while when we were originally talking about like doing some how to play videos, we had a guy who had offered to help like script some of them, and we were like talking about like breaking like just the mechanics of stuff, right? Like we all like know the slang for mechanics, you know, like a bump mechanic or, you know, worker placement, things like that. And he wanted to put in the script like breaking down like what each one of these terms meant, and I'm like, no. Like, that's like, no. I think that either the gamers are going to know, usually the people that are watching these videos are already gamers. They're going to know the terms.
They know what a meeple is.
Yeah, we don't need an explanation of a meeple, and it's kind of obnoxious. And then and also like context clues. Most people can kind of, from some things, pick up on context clues. Now, if I say, you know, draw a card from the deck, you know, versus I think was it Dave? Somebody said, you know, add somebody to your party, you know, and that means draw a card from the deck. Like, no, you say you draw a card from the deck. This is, you know, how you recruit people to your party, right? Like, that's what you do. That's the right way to say it. But this guy, and he was very well intentioned. He just wasn't a gamer, and so he wasn't understanding the terms. And it's like, no, please, we do not want any of that in anything. That whole venture didn't last very long, and that's totally fine. But, you know, I get there's like a fine line of like, just tell me basically what you want me to do. I don't, you know, like, give me a heads up. Hey, yeah, save these. And I've seen games do that. Save this, throw it under the, you know, insert to prevent box lift. I've seen games do that. So.
Well, I remember that happening, Tim. That actually led to one of our earlier episodes where we were doing like board game jargon, where we basically
that's right, Bobby.
went through and broke down different terms that, you know, hey, you might not be like, you know, super into gaming like we are. Here's a lot of terms you might use, you know, you might hear, and this is what they mean. And so, like, if you want to have an episode like that, that's fine. But if you're like, yeah, just in there talking about a game, I'm not going to sit here for 5 minutes and tell you what a meeple is.
Well, yeah, because the other thing, right, is that if we're going to talk about like, you know, I mean, anachrony, and you're going to do a how to play of anachrony, somebody that doesn't understand a lot of game terms is not jumping feet first into a game like anachrony. And if they are, God love them. Like, good luck. You know, that shouldn't be your first or second game you've ever played, you know.
I'm curious, can anybody think of a retail only game that has that problem? Or is this a product of, because you're doing a crowdfunding game thing, you have deadlines that you're trying to make. So that back and forth with the manufacturer, sometimes you can't go 5 times with them, right?
Mhm.
I'm curious if retail also has that problem, or if you can think of any.
I haven't bought a retail game in a long time. Like,
Yeah.
most of my games I've gotten have been Kickstarters. It's so bad.
You
Yeah.
snob.
I know. Well, I also kind of feel like the games that you do by Kickstarter, like if I think about it, like I mean, Axis and Allies, like that was one, and that came with like boxes and everything, like, and everything was all good to go with that. But other games that are more mass market, I feel.
What about like Horrified or Age of what is it? Life in Reterra? Didn't that?
Bits and bags.
Yeah, it's just like a retail game. You don't have the pressure of we got to get this out because people are like, "Where's my game?" or anything like that. So you could go, "Hey, send me a white box version of this. It's not quite fitting. Do this back and forth thing for a while, But when you have people breathing down your neck about, "Hey, you said it'd be here in a year and it's been 13 months," I wonder if that's the product of that kind of thing.
Could be.
Could be. Good point. Just because that deadline, and you got to get done. Well, it's as good as it's going to get. Let's just go.
Well, I mean, and the other thing I think is also important to consider is a lot of Kickstarter games and stuff is it's like a 1 or 2 person team, maybe 3. And if somebody doesn't consider that, it's very easy to overlook like a very small detail like that. And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, like how did we not think that was going to be
well, and then all the added bits for different versions of the game that you're selling on crowdfunding can sometimes exasperate that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's fair, Andrew. I get it.
Yep.
I get it. But Anachrony is way heavier than Distilled.
Actually, Power Grid was my wife's gateway game.
Oh, nice. But I would be curious if the game terms in there were confusing to her. I doubt it. And I had yet to, when I got into games, I don't think there was any like game terms where it's like, well, I don't know what that means because everything's in the rules, like once you've gone through the rule book.
Chances are if you're playing something like Anachrony or something, the other players aren't also new, right?
Usually, yeah.
You're not going to get a bunch of people who go, "Hey, we all like Monopoly. Let's get this Anachrony game." You're not going to make it through the rule book, first of all.
Yeah, no doubt.
So someone there is going to go, "Hey, this is a meeple. Okay, moving on."
Right.
Whose was that?
Was that Chris's or was that Mike's? That was Mike's.
Yeah.
That was Mike.
Okay.
All right, let's go back over to the Hollywood Hogan over there.
All right, Wolfpack, brother. All right, so my number 4 is Breaking Games' decision to not print enough copies of Dwellings of Eldervale. I'm kidding.
No, that's
that was my other.
Mike, you got to stop saying you're kidding. You got to own these things.
I don't work there anymore. You're right.
Yeah. No, like I said, I got a joke answer for each one of these. My real one is Planet Unknown First Edition. I love this game, actually. I really like games that support 6 players that have simultaneous play, and you can play right around an hour. And this does all those things really well. Except in that first edition, they put a Lazy Susan in that box and then sold it retail without a lid for it. So guess what happens to all of your polyominoes that you sorted into a Lazy Susan, which makes the game. Like you cannot play this game without the Lazy Susan and having your polyominoes organized. So they literally sold second edition first edition retail without a lid on this thing. And so, yeah, vertical sort. Yep. Backed second edition. Loved this game. And so I backed second edition and Super Moon expansion showed up. Haven't punched it and sorted it yet.
One of the coolest
but now they're putting the lid on all versions of this. Not to mention that if you got the neoprene planet mats for first edition, the photos were kind of fuzzy on them, and the squares don't even match the size of the polyominoes. They're slightly off. And so definitely some things to be learned from their first go at Planet Unknown here, but I do love this game, and I'm glad it kind of put Adam's Apple games on the map, and I think they did it right with that second edition.
Uh-oh, look at that.
I just got this in the mail, so
Nice.
I didn't even open it.
Is it second
Yeah.
edition?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with mine yet either.
Oh, it's got
Yeah.
one of those box thongs in here for some reason. That's not a
Yeah,
good
box thong is what he calls it. I love that.
Yeah. What are these
I'm,
called?
I'm stealing that. It's a box thong from now on.
It kind of looks like one.
That's not a good impression right off the bat to see that you're going to need that.
Nice. So we got a lot. I was also hoping to kind of elicit some conversation about the Supermoon expansion that a lot of people most recently got, just like I did.
Mm-hmm. You have to come. Are there a bunch of rule changes with the Supermoon, or is that just more of the same type of stuff?
I'm not sure exactly. I just didn't have
I
the
just
game.
backed it. I didn't look into it.
And I knew I wanted it, and I just throw it in the bag, and I'll sort it out later. But yeah, I haven't popped the shrink yet. Alan just got his. Nice. I just got mine 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I can't wait to play this again and actually I agree, talk more about box thongs.
Chris is gone, just so you know.
Yep, I lost him. But the Lazy Susan's an amazing component. Like, imagine trying to play that game without it. It wouldn't really be possible. It would be so fiddly.
Right.
I've put this game in many like best component lists because the Lazy Susan is genius.
And it's so smart that the middle part lifts and rotates, so you don't always have the same, two bits together. It's so smart.
Oh, the lid doesn't.
Show the top version of that there, Chris.
Yeah, the lid doesn't snap on or anything.
Oh. Yeah, the middle gray piece.
The gray piece lifts out of there.
Oh, this is a good one.
It used to.
Well, we figured out Jim's topic when he comes on next month.
There you go.
Whoops, didn't mean to do that.
Nice.
So there you go, Planet Unknown. Slightly more egregious than Breaking Games not printing enough Dwellings of Eldervale and going through 4 printings in like 3.5 years.
I can give you the backstory to that off camera.
Nice.
Ooh. That game sold out like so many times. Like there were so many times that game was out of print in a short period of time. I just wanted to joke about that, but it was kind of bad. All right, there you go. Tangents continue. Let's move to Bob's number 3.
All right. So for my number 3, I have a visual aid.
Big fan, Dave. Big fan.
Look at the thickness of this box. Okay.
Oof.
It's clear.
When Fireball Island got reprinted for the first time, they decided to go with this flimsy, like I've seen cardboard chits thicker than this box.
I think the Comic Hunter's cardboard chits are thicker than that box. And those are famously bad.
It's retro, right?
What's that?
It's retro.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
So retro.
So when they came out with that, I was so disappointed when I got that game. And then they announced they were going to do Return to Dark Tower. And I was like, heck no. I am not backing that because I know what I got the last time, and I do not want another pile of crap sitting on my shelf. And then it was amazing, right? They did a great job with that. And then they did Thunder Road, and I love that game. The production value is great. And they've fixed everything they did wrong with this one. But even like the board itself, like I get it, it's it's janky, it's gonna be a kid's game, they're gonna mess around with and do stuff, but it's so thin, so easy to break and dent and bend, and it's just such a disappointment when I got that. Like it was kind of early on in the whole board gaming thing, and man, they just bummed me out with it. They totally redeemed themselves, and now Restoration Games, I will take a serious look at whatever they make next, because I think they've really turned the corner after this steaming pile.
Man, I'll never forget though when Bob brought that to like a meetup, and I was like, "Oh, cool, you got your Fireball Island in," and I went to pick it up, and my hands like like the box like was buckling
on itself. Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I know I got that kung fu grip, but this is ridiculous. I mean, that's and I was just like, oh my God, Bob, like this is terrible. And he's like, I know. And I felt so bad, like, because I hate because we know what Kickstarters cost, and what we spend on games. And so when you pick up somebody's game and then you're like, oh, this sucks. Like, they don't want to hear that. You're like, I've spent that money on that game. I don't want people to tell me like that it's garbage.
I have all the extra bits for too. Like, I was all in on it too. So I have a big pile of this sitting around. So,
and what's sad is I picked up a copy of Target for like $20 and the box is way better. I just let my kids play with it, so.
Yeah.
I just want to leave this.
It sits on my shelf. If I ever get, kids or whatever, they want to mess with it, I'll let them tear it up. I don't really care. But man, I tell you what, that was a big disappointment when I got
that box was rough.
And for a second, I thought you meant you just let your kids play with just the box.
Yeah,
like, the kids sitting in the box.
At it.
Don't ruin my game. No, the cat sits in the box while the kids play the game.
If you can see her, she's sitting on the box. I put the lid back on there no more than 10 seconds, 20 seconds ago. She's already sitting on top of it.
Yeah.
It's a new space.
If she fits, she sits.
She does. Man, I just puked on my gaming table today. Oh my gosh. Ooh. Oh Lord, bless me with the patience, because if I had the strength, she'd be out of here. Yeah.
I just want to leave this.
That where the fur came from? The last cat?
That was the last cat.
The last cat.
My gaming table. I tell her that every time.
Well done.
Yeah.
Bob, I think you nailed it when you said the word disappointment, because I'm looking at the exact box that you had. However, I think the Kickstarter version, or the what Tim has said, the Target version was a thicker box.
It is.
I had backed all in as well, because that was like part of my childhood, was that original thing.
Yeah.
I get that it was a one form, like I get the vacuum seal board, and it was, I think it was a disappointment across the board, not only for that box, which was an immediate standout, because that's the first thing you touched was the box when it came, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. So
I'm trying to leave that comment up as long as I possibly can. I lost it. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 3, there's like 2 games that I think have absolutely amazing production quality, except for like a single component. And it's really frustrating, because you're like, everything in this game looks so good and you're going to do nothing with this. So the first one, I'll say the very popular one first, and that's Villainous. Okay. So Villainous has great art and really cool minis, but those tokens that are for whatever, I forget what they even are for now. They're just so blah. Bless you, Bob.
Thank you.
They're so basic. I forget what those tokens are. I mean, you got that cool cauldron, and that whole thing. And then there's just these flat, like very bland tokens. Right. At least in the first version of Villainous, the original Disney Villainous. No, they're just cardboard punch out.
You could have made them those little like ruby looking things that were just black, and that'd been fine. They'd been
Oh, they'd look cool as hell.
Yeah, but no, you're gonna make this shit.
They were like flat, like purple discs or something, right? I mean, they were like your power tokens or whatever, and they're just really.
They're right there. They're right there.
They're
been a while since I played it.
They're really boring and kind of ugly. But like you've got those like personal like player boards that open up with like the fantastic art, and the cards all look great. And those minis, like I love like those stylized representations of the characters. Like I think those minis are great. I don't even love this game personally, because I feel like it overstays its welcome, because it's kind of like a Munchkin beat on the leader.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But I appreciate like what this game does. And again, like I love those representations of those characters and stuff. But that component is like such a downer, because it's like everything else in the game is so beautiful. So point number 2, you spend a bunch of money on a Kickstarter, and it's got like all these unique like planets, individual planets, and I'm looking at you last light, and then you get those asteroids, and they look like gray chunks of crap.
Yeah.
I painted mine, so they look.
Yeah.
They actually look cool if you paint them. I painted mine black with like some gold flecks in there, like to give them some.
Hey, Mike, scroll up just a little bit. I just look at artists right there.
Wow. Way to go.
That's another one.
Tim Panders this week.
Yeah. Oh, is this not how you pander? Is this not how you pander? Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it wrong?
This is
trying to find one of these gray turds.
Yeah.
Hold on, though. Those asteroids suck, though.
There they are. Oh, those are painted.
Those are painted.
Yeah, don't count.
And they look good painted. Not gonna lie, they look good painted.
Yeah.
But I mean, otherwise, like I enjoy the design of the game. I enjoy the gameplay. I love all the other components, but those ugly ass asteroids are just so
gray walnuts.
You want to know something? Those are improvement upon what used to be there.
Oh, man.
It was even worse, and they were brown.
Yikes.
Oh, they really
welcome for being gray because I'm the one to point it out.
They would look like turds.
Have you ever been to the Testicle Festival? It kind of reminds me of the Testicle Festival in Montana.
Yeah.
You'll have a ball, but still.
Really ugly and kind of boring is title of my sex tape. So there you go. But
look at that board, though.
Hey, no, the board looks great. Like I love that design. Seriously, like even in that thing, you like look at those canisters, right? Of the different those bits.
Those were different resources. I didn't do that one, but
those resources. But I mean, they all look so good. Those planets are beautiful. The way that board moves is so interesting. And then you drop these little gray turds on your board. You're like, these are asteroids. It's like seriously, I painted mine so fast, and I don't even paint stuff well.
I saw that somebody went out and just got actual rocks and put them on their board, and
it's an improvement. Yeah, hell yeah, it's an improvement.
Yeah, you have to paint a little Bruce Willis on there trying to drill toward the center.
Yeah. Anyways, so Last Light / Villainous, like great games with like just a couple of dud components in there, and it's like, what are you doing? Like
That's
everything
the
else
turd in the
looks
punch bowl right there.
Everything else looks so good.
Punch
like,
is
what are you
great.
doing?
Oh, man, why is there a turd floating in it?
It's like, look, guys, we've only got $5 left. Shit, we haven't made the asteroids yet.
Don't worry, I got it.
Just do this. So there it is, the gray walnut. Mike, you nailed it with the walnut.
There's so many other things with this. I know Chris worked on it, and I talked about it on a show, but there was way more with the production of this game that stood out when you start looking at the Kickstarter exclusive box that came in, and Chris didn't have anything to do with it, but the back.
I still haven't seen it, so
yeah, Chris didn't get his copy.
What?
Yeah,
oh, no.
Unbelievable. The back of the expansion box. Two things with the expansion box. There was an expansion box with all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
It had a game trays insert in the expansion box that you don't need.
Yep.
Like the minis that you were talking about from Vindication that you don't need. So you paid for a game trays insert in a box of expansion stuff that you throw into the main box. You don't need it. In addition, the back of the expansion box it has the components for the expansion material or the extra material, but the back picture is the same as the back of the main box.
Oh my gosh, I need to look. I wonder if I still have my expansion box or did I throw it out? I think I combined everything into one box.
I combined everything into one box.
Back of that box really hurt. Yeah.
Production mistakes.
I'm a consolidator.
I will say this is definitely a victim of like deadlines, right?
Oh,
the
sure.
Insert is almost always the last thing you do on these. And that's why it's usually the biggest production mistake in any of these crowdfunding games.
I hear you, but as a backer, like I'd rather have an insert that does things well.
Yeah.
Then
I agree.
We had the problem with Stuff a Legend, the insert that we got. So the retail edition is just a throwaway insert, cardboard, whatever. But the Boogeyman edition has like spots for everything. Like thought ahead and put the spots in. The leader tokens that are cardboard punch out go on a little plastic stand. And in the bottom of that insert, there are spaces for them, so you don't have to constantly take the bottom plastic off, which eventually just ruins the cardboard. It gets loose and whatever. So we had to make sure like the tray, the trough that was in the center of that bottom insert fit those things perfectly. And when we got the sample, it was just a hair above what it needed to, which caused everything else to lift and cause the problem. So some of the delay on getting that game out was because we sent that shit back and said, you got to do it. We got to bring it down. It's got to be reshaped. Yep. And like, it's attention to detail. And if it does come down to timing, like some of that stuff does get missed because it's one of the last things you're thinking about is the insert. And you're not really thinking about how everything's going to go back in the box. You want to think about how everything looks on the table.
It's such a bummer though, that like people as consumers sometimes will, I don't know, if my game is going to take, I'll say this, if my game is going to take 5 years to get to me, you know, I backed it, it better look really good when it lands on my table. Right. But if it looks great when it lands on my table, I'm really excited. Yep. You know, if I get a game in 1 year and it looks like shit, well, then it's like, man, yep. You know, I don't know. I'm also like the kind of Kickstarter backer where like, if I back something, I just try to forget about it. Like,
yeah, same.
It's just going to show up, you know, because, and I mean, I was never like the big, like active commenter, like, but even more as I got like into the hobby and into the industry side of it, even more like I'm just going to forget about it because these people are dealing with all kinds of shit. Like they don't need me talking to them. But like, but even then, you know, like even as a backer, like originally I would try to just kind of forget about it because I just was like, you're checking all these time for these updates and stuff. And it's just like, well, I'm not getting this game. I'm not getting this game. And it's just building up all this fervor. And it's like, even if that game's on the boat, I'm not going to see it for another 2 months. So like, what's the point of like freaking out about it? So I just stopped looking at it. But then as you start to understand the relationships and the people that are involved and like what they're doing, like even more so, like it'll get here when it gets here. Like, you know, these people, 99% of the people that are making board games on Kickstarter are not trying to steal your money. You know, they're just, you know, the projects are, you know, they're going to come or they're not. And if they don't, it's not because they're crooks. It's just because they're game designers, not business people. You know, they just don't always know how to manage the funds and all that stuff, or they're in over their head, or they just, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you highlight Dave's question? Because I think it's a good question. Like we're talking about these delays and how things are waiting till the last minute. There are a few things here that could be a problem. One is in January and February, there's the Chinese New Year and the whole country shuts down. So if you don't get your stuff out prior to that, then you got to wait a whole month before it gets on the water, gets on the ship, whatever. Then there's also the delays at port. There's the delays on at port leaving, at port coming in. How long is it going to get to take to get to your warehouse? And some of these companies, if they don't make it to Gen Con, could be the end of them. Like if they don't have a product to sell there, it could be the end of them. And if it is a Kickstarter, sometimes they have to make the tough decision to airship a pallet or more to a show like that to have it visible. So people that are the 70,000 people that, you know, could potentially come across that booth in that game, they have them there to sell, because if they don't, it could be their downfall, which then leads into the Kickstarter people being pissy that they didn't have their copy yet. And how is it available? There's so many things that go into it. And it could be a whole nother episode that we talk about like industry shit like this, but it is a good question. And sometimes like, hey, we got to make that cut. We got to get it on the boat. And then you get it on the boat and it gets stuck in the Panama Canal for 3 weeks because of water levels and can't get through. And all the unpredictable stuff that goes along with, oh, we got it out on time, we're good. You're not necessarily good.
Yeah. As someone who's backed hundreds of games on Kickstarter, I've never been mad at a company for having their games at conventions before backers get them. But when I've seen it at my local game store for like 3 months, 4 months, and I still haven't got my copy yet, I start to get upset.
That's a little different.
Yeah.
Well, there could also be reasons there too. I think we mentioned.
I get it. They need to try to start making them, you know, a little bit more money and recoup things. I get that. But
well, no, there's also retail versions versus Kickstarter versions, and sometimes those retail versions get produced faster.
And sometimes it's easier to get a case or a pallet out of a warehouse to make room or to not have to do a case break or something and get it out there. So I don't know how big your local shop is, but if it's something like Millennium here in Rochester, which is the biggest in the country, they're ordering pallets of games, and it's easier for them to get them out rather than to get to your one copy because they got to do a break, they got to print the label, they got to do.
Yep.
So like your copy could be months behind because they got all the bigger shit out of the warehouse first.
Mhm.
I mean,
I hear
probably
you.
not in that situation, but it's also a thing.
A lot of times,
Oh,
one
go
thing
on.
backers don't well, I won't say don't understand, but there are some shipping companies that the way that they do their order is that they do the most basics. Like if there's 100,000 people that did it one way and you added one little thing, you're behind all of them, right? So you don't want to discourage people from buying an extra add-on or something. Just know if you're a little different than everybody else, you're going to be in the back.
Mm-hmm. And then to answer Alan, I think, and now you guys will know better than me, but I was always under the impression that most people operate Gen Con at a loss. The booth
It's
at
marketing.
Gen Con is a loss. It's an investment. People that are selling their games, even their art and stuff, whatever, they're not really making money. If they break even, they had an amazing show. Just with all the costs involved between the booth rental, bringing stuff in, the tables and the chairs that you have to rent, and anything that goes on, on in that, all the expenses. If you can break even, you had an amazing show. So, and I think that's something that gets overlooked, right? For those shows, Origins might be a little different because it's a lot cheaper to run a booth at Origins. I mean, you're still like having to deal with like a bunch of the logistics, side of it. But Origins, you could pack a bunch of shit in your van, you know what I mean, or into a U-Haul and, and set up. But the booth costs are way different and it's way more accessible. I can't speak to other conventions, but
they're much less at Origins than they are at Gen Con. Gen Con's a much bigger hit in the face. But like Chris mentioned, it's definitely more marketing in front of mind. For example, it cost us $1,600 for 2 pallets to get delivered by the Origins. I'm not even going to say their name. The people that deal with the shipping, in the hall, to take it from one place to our booth. It was $1,600, and it was on site. Like not only the shipping to get it there, but to have them deliver it because you don't have a forklift. You're not allowed to touch it. Like all those things add up. But then on the other side of things, like Gen Con specifically, because we were talking about how expensive that is, they take care of the artists that are there. The artist alley, to have an artist table, it's much less than it is.
Oh, sure. Well, good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, it's not. Unless you have a Flip 7 or a Lord of the Rings or Fellowship of the Rings trick taker, and you're going to sell out pallets upon pallets of stuff because of a hype thing. Most of them are operating at cost if they're lucky. Because then you got your hotel and you got your shipping fees and you got if you had an airship, like I talked about before, air shipping pallets in to have it at that event because you're missing a whole bunch of people. There's a lot of things that go into it. And if you break even, if you're in the black at the end of that 4 days, you've done good.
Yeah, it always blows me away in like Gen Con, especially whenever I see booths, but they're not doing demos. I'm like, why are you even here then? Because you're not going to make money. The point is to sell your game to people and tell them about it so that they talk to other people about it and show pictures of them demoing and all that stuff. So
yeah. Gen Con is a real, like Origins, I could see like having a booth without your game out yet. But Gen Con is a tough one. Like if you don't have product to sell, like some kind of SKU, to have there to like, you just must have a bunch of money, and you're ready to go, ready to write it all off on your taxes. I don't know.
It's a big decision. Like for Origins, we airshipped charcuterie to have at the show, to have it early, to have something to sell. Cause like there was some hype coming out of it. We didn't have it in time to have more there. So we airshipped them in to get them just so we can have them at the show. So yeah, we sold out of the 100 copies that we brought, but how much was it to get the 100 copies there and with all the places it touched and left and got shipped from, plus booth fees, plus, hotel and all the other things. Like it's even a show like that, it's hard. It's not easy.
But to back that up with marketing, though, that's 100 people that then posted what they got at Origins, and we got it first, and all that stuff. And oh, what's this game? And yeah, so
which is where that decision came from. Like now,
Right.
like look at what the op did, which I think is absolutely brilliant. What they did with Flip 7 at Gen Con, right? To give that promotional copy out. So then it started getting played and started getting on videos and in pictures. And what is this thing? And it's smart, but it is marketing. Looking at it from a different perspective, it is marketing.
And Flip 7, for example, right? They gave out, let's just say, hundreds of copies. I don't know how many copies they gave out. They gave out a ton of copies of that game. That game 2 weeks ago, I was at a like a little weekend with some friends that aren't even board gamers. I took Flip 7 and there was like 8 of us all playing, and we played it for a solid hour, you know, over and over. And everybody at that table that didn't already own it was trying to buy it, and it was sold out. And that was a game that they had given away hundreds of copies.
Yeah, you still don't have it, right, Chris?
I've been trying to buy it since PAX.
I think it's back in stock now.
Yeah,
but,
right,
I keep saying that.
free.
Go check. Go now. Check.
For a while there, I thought Beans and Rice was frozen.
he's just working on his next dig. He's trying to think of like which way he can shit on your next game, like real quick.
Yeah, which game were you guys a part of that I get to joke about?
That's
Or
it,
joke,
yeah.
wink,
Do
wink,
'em all.
wink,
That's fun.
but like totally be serious.
Intervention.
Uh,
Anyway,
yeah, whose turn is it now?
Yeah, whose pick was that? Wow.
was that you, Tim?
Was that
Yeah.
mine? What did I say? Oh, I said, yeah, I got it going on the last light in Villainous. And then we
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
went off.
Yeah, that,
So-
that caused the trouble right
Still
there.
on number 3.
Number
We're on
three.
number 3.
Okay. All right. Mine's probably going to be pretty quick because I can't imagine anybody disagreeing with it. When I get it, and this is only crowdfunding stuff, but every time I open up a crowdfunding game and there's all this extra stuff and you don't tell me what it is or where it goes or what it replaces because of some deluxe stuff, and I've punched out pieces and then I find the deluxe pieces that shouldn't have been punched out, and there's no communication on almost all of these games telling you what you're looking at as a product when you open it, because they think I've been paying attention for a year and a half. And I haven't.
Exactly.
I've forgotten everything about this game. This game, I had no idea this was in it until I opened this and you guys started talking about it. I had no idea because I forgot everything about this game. I haven't played it yet. So
Yeah.
don't expect me to know all this stuff. Oh, I'm not there yet.
Calm down, Mike.
This is safe a little bit because it has a lot of unlocked stuff, but that is also true in the fact that when you open up these games, they just kind of expect you to remember all this stuff because they've been living it for a year and going through it. And you know, this is just one of many games showed up on my doorstep this week. I don't know anything about this. You have to tell me what I'm looking at.
Yeah. No, I think
Assuming
that's
people are reading the updates and reading the whatever.
Yeah, I don't read updates. And the second this thing showed up on my door, I unsubscribed too.
oh.
Sorry, but I get way too many Kickstarter emails.
You know, it is kind of funny because I
that's
never unsubscribe. Maybe it's because I'm too lazy, but I am always like, I've already got my game. Like, I don't need more emails from you unless you're gonna like launch a new thing.
It's just a button at the bottom of the email. Kickstarter makes it easy. I'm like Gleeful. I'm like, got my game. Boom, unsubscribe.
Bye.
I just got House of Fado, and there was a sheet in there that said, these are your deluxe components. These replace these components right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great example of doing it right. I got it too.
Yeah.
KTBG does that with their stuff.
Yep.
They have
Yep,
that. If you
they
hit
do.
the
Yes.
components, yeah, it's great. These are the components, and this is what it's replacing, and it's really nice. And it's right there. Like, it's not at the bottom of the box.
Yep.
not the
And it's appreciated every single time.
Well, and if I'm not like, if I don't have to punch and sort and bag and figure out where it goes in the insert, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's just these. Like, God damn it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
I get it.
That's a good one.
All right. Googs.
Me?
Yep.
All right. Things are different now, and I hope people are up with the times, but this can't happen. I don't have an example. Maybe you guys can have something in mind when I talk about this. But nowadays, printing decks of cards and cards for your games are much easier than it used to be. And if you have cards in your game that have to be separated into different decks, and they have the same fucking back art, it makes it so much more complicated to break that game up and put back. Like, that's not like you can do different art on the back. Like, it could be something as simple as like turning an icon like sideways or adding an arrow to it or something that makes the back of that deck different than not an A and a B. It doesn't have to be so like sophomoric.
Obvious. Yeah.
Give something else than just the same back, and then you have to turn them over and look for a tiny little icon on the bottom or something dumb. Give it a different back. Give different back art to different decks.
It's kind of one of my biggest beefs about like the legendary card series. Like, they have the tiniest font that you have to sort like 1,000 cards by, and it's just like,
Well,
why?
it's more for like not like the Marvel one, but for like legendary encounters.
right.
Yeah, don't make it like so that it's such a hassle to frickin' sort the damn game out. Like, just
I'm saying different decks, not like a deck builder that you're going to get new, like Magic. Like, Magic needs to have the same back because of whatever. But if you're putting like separate the to steal from Magic, separate the artifacts from the heroes from the whatever, and all the backs are the same, like that box could have been tilted, the cards could have been shuffled. Like, just give it a different back art. Like, it's pretty simple to have different backs. Art on cards now because of the way the printing thing works. Like, it's been upgraded. So why are you still doing that?
Yeah.
I don't have anything in mind, but I know it just came across recently where I was like, really? Like, okay. And it's face up. Like, you don't have to worry about like the same deck. So it's not, do I draw from this pile? Which is the draw pile? Like, they were face up things, which is fine. But putting it away or shuffling it up and setting it up, like, that's just, it's a hassle and unnecessary now. Don't even, Eric. Don't even.
What, the bags?
Yep.
I have a whole drawer full of bags. I don't have that
don't.
problem anymore.
Don't.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. In those cases, I will separate them by bags every time, so I don't have to keep doing it. But it is annoying, yeah. And obviously, it makes sense in deck builders to do it. I wonder if those other publishers see that and go, "Oh, it's okay," not realizing why it has to be that case in deck builders and not in other versions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, deck builders, I get it. Like that, you can't. That's why Magic still has the same thing from 1992 on the back, and they haven't updated it. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
Or Champions, where or Smash Up for that matter. Like, you're taking two things and shuffling them together, and you don't want to know if it's a zombie or a pirate. Like, I get that.
But they're also easy to sort when you flip them over. You know, like, so it's not like it's that
hard.
Yeah.
Or you can tell what colors they are and whatnot.
Yeah.
By the way, Evan, I want a written old school snail mail letter. He's offering to write everybody a letter in there. Isn't that what he's doing?
Yeah. He just wants to find out where you live, Chris. It's a trap.
Yeah, he's just gonna need your address and social security number.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Yep,
Trust me, robot knows traps.
Yeah, there you go.
No, you're just gonna have to send it to everybody, Evan.
All right, that's my number 3. Short and sweet.
Right.
Good one.
Just don't do that anymore, please.
Other Mike.
All right. My number 3 is the first 6 months we did Whiskey Wednesdays where Tim dropped out of the stream half the time.
Hell yeah. It's my MO. Hold on. Let me.
That was our first 42 show with him, too.
Oh, my God. I was so embarrassed.
Hey,
I
hold on now. I still have 2 more of these here. So, but no, my real number 3 is actually the White Castle. Now, this is a very beloved game. I have mixed opinions about it, and I can tell you why. But first, let me tell you where the production mistake was. There is nothing to me that is worse than when components block vital icons you need to see on the board. And that's why those little bridges that they made out of cardboard that block the resources on the board were a mistake. This is just like one angle, but like, see those resources just above that bridge there? If you're sitting on the wrong side of the table, you can't see them. And if you put a worker on that spot, it just blocks the benefit of putting that worker there. And I can't stand it. And it doesn't even matter if I'm the person sitting on that side of the table. Like, I just automatically know whoever's sitting on this side, you can't see it. It makes more sense to just take the bridges and throw them in the box or trash, your call, and just put the dice directly on the board. These little extraneous cardboard bridges that you had to build to block vital information on the board was a mistake.
The whole game is a mistake.
I
didn't care for it. I know, hot take. I didn't care. It's very popular, but
two player.
There you go.
Yeah, it's brutal at 3 or 4. Player order matters so much. If you get behind on the heron track, forget it. You're gonna lose. Like every game I've played that had 4 players, if you're 4th in player order, you lose. Like that's just, man, I've never seen a worker placement game where player order is that important. But also seeing the icons on the board is also very important. So don't print a cardboard standee to put dice in that blocks the icons. Yeah. I can't stand having to move things. Even like if I'm playing a game where like somebody puts a miniature on a territory that blocks the resource that territory produces, I'm going to tell them, don't put your mini there. Yeah. Move it to the corner of the hex. We need to be able to see the resources. If I have to keep moving stuff around on the board to see the information that I need to process my turn, I just get really frustrated. And so, yeah, that along with turn order, the damn bridges blocking these icons, I thought was a mistake.
That makes me so sad because I haven't played this game yet, but I bought it. And when I punched those out and made them, I was so happy that make those little bridges. And then I told that to Mike here on one of our shows, and he told me the same issue. And I was just like, oh, I still want to use them because I love the little bridges.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, keep the bridges for the rest of the game away.
Mike, on that same trail, I didn't make my list because I didn't think about it. But one of my favorite games that people don't think about by David Turksey, Venice, in the original map, you had those buildings and you had to put your workers on those buildings and you would move them around, but it covered up all the iconography on the buildings and you had to keep moving away to see what the buildings did. And when they released the Da Vinci's Workshop expansion, they put out a new board and they fixed it. And they actually made a slot for the workers on the outside of the building so you no longer block all the iconography. And so should have put that on my list.
Yeah, right back there. And Vild Fate did a similar thing where you're like putting your miniatures into those areas and then voting on the result that you want. But like the icons are sitting behind the miniatures that are telling you what you're going to get depending on how you vote. I actually got really frustrated with that particular part of that game. But yeah, this year, if you're sitting on the wrong side of the table, sorry.
Yep. Evan brought up the Everdell tree too, and of course that's trying to get the cards out from underneath the tree and read the
I hardly use the tree ever.
I love the tree, but I hate the tree. Just like I love the bridges, and I'll probably hate the bridges.
Yeah, I'll tell you another one. I bought this as a Christmas present for a kid because I thought he'd really like it. It was Star Wars Clue. And it like creates this like huge Death Star that just gets in the way of all the rooms. Like it just, you got to be able to see what rooms the characters are standing in. And I thought the Death Star looked cool, but you couldn't see what room they were in, depending what side of the table you were sitting on. It was terrible.
I'm pretty sure it was Darth Vader using the Force in the Death Star. Is the answer for all of it.
Yeah.
I saw a hilarious meme that was Darth Vader pre-COVID, and he's like choking the Admiral, and it's in A New Hope, like they're in the room together. And then Darth Vader during COVID, and he's choking the guy in Empire, through the view screen. Like, so good.
You too can work from home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just in general, White Castle is the most egregious and most recent example I could think of, but any game where components are blocking icons or information you need is really frustrating to me.
Yep.
That's a good pick, Mike.
Yep. All right.
On to number 2.
So for my number 2, we actually did a whole review on this game. But Roller Coaster Rush.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just like it's got a very cool like idea behind it, but man, that follow through was awful. Like the didn't work half the time, you know, and it just the plastic tracks weren't good.
Don't make a marble run game that doesn't run the marbles. That's
There
all
you
I'm
go.
saying.
You know what's ridiculous about this too is that this was a reprint, and the original
they still
used
think it
cardboard that actually fell apart.
The original was
Right.
worse. I
And
had
yeah,
the original.
like kids will play it, but it's like then you're playing this like kind of like take that part where you're like snagging components from them. It's like kids aren't gonna like doing that. They're just gonna want to build the coaster and see if the marble goes down. You know, they're not gonna want to play it by the actual rules.
Oh
of the
my
game.
god!
But yeah,
Plus,
we did
if you like, as soon as you run the marble down some of these parts, you immediately know which ones are crap. Like there's just certain pieces, like this one over here on the left with that little like hitch. It's just going to block momentum. You know to never buy that piece. Like, why is it even in the game? This was the worst game we ever reviewed. I think I gave this a 4.
That's
Wow.
pretty bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yep.
I
So-
can't believe this was a Scott Alms design and published by
Panasaurus. Yeah.
Looks like
This game
nice
was
graphic
terrible.
design.
Yeah, this game was awful. Great pick, Bob. This game was terrible.
Thanks.
Oh my god.
Did you forget that one?
I was so bad I didn't even think to put it on my list.
He's like, I tried blocking that out for the last 2 years.
Dude. Oh wow. I'm
Yeah.
getting like repressed trauma coming back.
Show us on the meeple where the game hurt you, Mike.
Right, it was right down here.
Yeah.
Good one.
But yeah,
Oh,
that's it. No
sure.
long rants or anything, but if you've played it, you know. If you haven't, don't. So
don't.
Oh man.
Unless you got kids, still
yeah,
don't.
if you got
No.
kids, let it put it together and throw the marble down. And don't look at the rule book. Throw it away.
I've not even brought this game home to play with my kids. We're gonna play a marble run game. We'll play Fire Island.
There you go.
Fireball
Just give them the
Island.
bots.
Yeah, no doubt.
David, even on BGG, this one gets a 4. So that's saying something.
Yep.
Whew.
All right.
All right. So my number 2 is I'm gonna have to apologize to our guests. Because you ever have a game where the components look so realistic that you mistake them for what they're representing?
Every one of his, just as a note.
I hope
Huh?
I think so.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, like, Mike in Third World Studios owes me a bunch of money for hospital bills because I keep trying to eat my charcuterie pieces because they look too realistic.
not me.
That's a huge error. That's a huge error. That stuff looks too good. I keep eating it. No, I'm just kidding. Not my real one. But no, those look good though. They do look good. Too good. No. But like a legit complaint is when you've got a game and the first edition is amazing and there's 2 of these, and when they do the reprint, I don't know if they're cutting costs or what, but it's not as good. It's not as clean. And I'm looking at Sheriff of Nottingham, the 2nd edition. That artwork is hot garbage. I love that game. The first edition has beautiful art. The 2nd edition, the cards, they just skimped out so bad and it's hideous. I mean, it is hideous. And then the other one would be the 2nd edition of Tyrants of the Underdark versus the 1st edition of Tyrants of the Underdark. So much so that I held out to make sure I could get a 1st edition copy of Tyrants of the Underdark, which is a great deck building territory control game.
Yep.
But they got rid of the minis, right, Bob? Isn't that what they did?
Yep. The little
Yeah.
plastic.
Really?
Yep. The little shield or whatever that you use to mark your spaces.
I didn't know they made a second version of that. Yeah, I've got the minis.
First edition.
Made.
Yeah, I held out, found a first edition, scooped it up.
There.
Yeah,
It was really good.
I had that edition. It's very good.
That's the one you want.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a
First
second edition
edition.
of that either.
Great deck building game.
Oh, I love this
Very
game. It's
underrated and not well
It
known.
is underrated, and it came right out of after Lords of Waterdeep. I thought it'd get just as big of a thing, and nope.
No, totally under the radar. Bob brought this game over to my house one time. We played it, and I was like, "This game's amazing!" And then when I went to find it, by the time I started looking for a copy of it, it was just
Second edition
with the chits, and I'm like, ugh, like I don't want that.
Yeah, the plastic bits are so much cooler.
Yeah, the classic bits are cooler, and so I just held out for that. But I just don't get I guess if you're trying to reduce production cost, it's right. It's got to be a production cost
to reduce
issue.
production costs. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I just think that if you know better, you're going to hold out for the better version. You're going to find the better edition, and you're going to find that the minis aren't required or anything, and the chits are functional. But when I'm aware of a better looking version, and I didn't really pay any more for it than I would have for that second edition. Mm-hmm. It's I just found the first edition. I waited a little while, hunted around, found a good price for it, and I was like, okay.
Was the second edition the same publisher, or was
No, it's a different publisher, I think.
So we got Gale Force 9.
Gale Force 9 did second edition.
Okay.
Might have been who had first edition? Who had Lords of Waterdeep? I forget.
Gale Force 9.
Whiz Kids, right? Or Wizards?
It says Gale Force 9 on both.
No, that can't be right.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Right, because talking about production values, that could be the thing. It was just a different company. So
Wizards of the Coast is on it because it's a Dungeons and Dragons thing.
Right, they own the
That's
license.
what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, Wizards. I think Wizards did the first edition.
Yeah, Gale Force 9 and Wizards of the Coast collabed on at least on the first edition.
Interesting.
So yeah, they made a decision somewhere in there to make a subpar version.
Holy crap. My number 2 is
bottom
where
line.
there's 57 artists.
Wow.
Jeez.
The art on those cards those cards is great too.
I love Underdark, Drow art. I read all the Dritz books.
Here we go. Let's set the world on fire. What they should have done was put the minis in and then just did AI art. They could have saved the money that way.
Oh yeah.
Nope. We just got canceled.
Hold on, I got canceled. I'm out. I just blew up my spot.
Unalive you, Tim.
Yeah, seriously. And I would have
views
deserved
expressed on here do not reflect the views of the full.
And I would deserve that 100%. 100. It made me sick to even say it.
He's like, I threw up in my mouth as I was saying.
Some jokes are just hard to say.
Is that Jason Engel from Hachette? Same guy?
No.
Different.
No, but
boy.
I have a picture of Jason in front of that Jason's booth at Gen Con because he's an artist and he had a booth. And I have a picture of Jason doing a demo at his own booth, but I got it structured where Jason was doing a demo and behind him was this big banner for Jason Engel, the artist.
Nice.
Really, he gets asked a lot, actually.
I was like, dang, does he do art too?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Nice. Yeah,
Mr.
good
Chris.
pick, Tim.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason. That's a good
Okay.
pick.
So I have a few things to talk about. Let's talk about reference cards.
Ooh.
So I want one for each player. I don't want the share.
Yes.
I want relevant information, not repeated information that's on the card right next to me.
Yes.
And especially if you reference in a rule book, if you have the reference there, don't read back to me exactly what's on the card in the reference. What is the point of that even? Put some random art in there if you have to. But the other thing on reference cards, how many times have I looked up an icon on a reference card and it's not there? Like you know how many icons you have in your game. Why are they not all right where the icons are listed? It just drives me nuts that seems like such a disorganized way of putting things together. I see fumbles on reference cards all the time, and I know it's because it's at the end of production. It's one of the last things you're making because your icons change or how you're doing stuff changes all through everything, and you just lost steam is what it feels like. It's just like, just make a reference card in one day and get it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel it every single time. Every time we get a reference card and it's not working, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, you feel it.
It makes me sad to hear that that's one of the last things you do. Like, I feel like if I was designing a game and working on a game, and I know that these are like the critical things you're doing throughout your turn or that you're going to have to deal with, like, I want the player to know what that stuff is. And whether that icon changes or not, I still want that player to know what that stuff is. And, like, I feel like that should just be...
It's not the last thing you start, it's the last thing you finish. Or one of the last things, right? It's right there with the rule book and, minor changes, because if you make one little minor change in the game, then it's got to change the reference, it's got to change the rules, but it's usually one of the last things that you're just like, let me just get to the finish line, and and you can feel that whenever it doesn't,
when it's just slapped together. Yeah.
Also, just if you can't make the cards, don't give me also a blank back of the rule book. Put it back there.
Oh my God. Put it on the back of the rule book every freaking time.
Every time. Yeah. Who cares about the
time.
credits? Put that on the inside. Put a nice reference on the back.
So
every time.
Reference materials.
More rulebook references.
Put the
It's
page
even
number.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, Bob.
Page
Just
numbers
gonna
are good,
say
yeah.
that. Oh my God, the page number. Whenever they do that, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Forges does a good job at that, where like you're looking at the card, like a reference card, and it tells you a page number where you can find a more in-depth, definition.
Iridia does a good thing of that on the back of their rule book. Whenever you go, how do I do this treasure thing? You look and see treasure, open up that page. There it is.
Smart.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, my turn.
Yes, sir.
God damn it. I don't know where to go with this one.
If only you put them in order.
Yeah, Mr. in order tonight.
I mean, you weren't listening to me, so what were you thinking of? You should have thought of what you...
It's still rule books. Like, I still got rule books down here, but you haven't touched upon the stuff that's on mine. So, but I'm not going to talk about rule books. I'm going to talk about box sleeves. I like the box sleeve. It functions as your rubber band thong, right? Your box thong that you had before. Like, it'll keep it together if you need to. But when the box, so you have your art, right? I don't know why you have it, right? Do you have are you adding a hologram to it? Are you adding foil? Are you adding lenticular? Like, what are you doing to the front of the box that you want to cover up that beautiful art that should be on the front of the box? Fine. Then you get that person to grab the thing and you turn it over, and the back has no information because your box sleeve is covering up the back of the box.
Yeah.
On it. Why are you doing this? It makes no sense. Like, box sleeves, fine if you want to add it, but you can't cover up information, because once they grab that box and they flip it over, that's going to be the thing that they see the 1, 2, 3 and be like, oh, I get how the game works, or look at the pretty layout of a table presence, or look at X, Y, and Z, and then you cover that up with a box sleeve that does nothing to show off what the game has to offer.
No, they need to be uninvented.
The other problem I have with box sleeves, and I love them, I mean, I think they're cool and it's like another kind of aspect of the game, but the other problem is they tear so easily most of the time that if you are not careful, and then it's like, well, now do I just throw it away, or do I keep this partially, even if it's just got like a, a little 1/4-inch rip, it's like, ugh. Now that's all I think about when I go to pull that game off the shelf is that little ripped piece. And it irks me because I like to take care of my stuff.
What do I do with it? I took it off the box. Where does it go now?
Yep. You know what box sleeves were good? The fat packs from Magic. You take the box sleeve off, you crack the glue, you had a poster. Like, you had a nice 30 in chat hit the like, what?
30 people in chat, so there should be 30 thumbs ups.
Heck
You
yeah.
would have a piece of something you could, if you wanted to, hang on the wall in your like nerd cave. Or
Now,
whatever.
Mike, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's something you do with it, right? Like here's a fun way to give you a poster for your board game. The problem is it doesn't fix the back of the box.
Right. You gotta have something on the back.
It does, right. The back of the box needs to be there, but if okay, cool. Now you have this box sleeve that no one really gives a shit about. But then
Right.
if you have the inside of the box sleeve be
Oh,
printed,
the inside of it. Yeah.
right,
I got
then
you.
have
I got you.
something that you can open up, right? But the problem is you're covering up pertinent information of the game. And cool, you can take your player count, your age, and your time limit and put it on the spine or put it on the side because now you only have 2 open edges to this cube that you're playing with, or not cube, but box that you're playing with.
Yep.
Cool. So now your information needs to be there, but you're covering up your components, your layout, the prettiness of what you paid for. And then what is the front of that box sleeve? Just another image of the box top? Like what? It makes no sense.
It's usually not as good as the box art itself. It's
Sometimes.
usually
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the best benefit is like when you go to stand the box up, it keeps it from separating a little bit so everything doesn't fall. So it kind of keeps everything all together. Kind of like the box thong, right? So it kind of serves that purpose. And a lot of those box thongs have like a little like bump on them. So you kind of like lose a little space because of like the nipple on it or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I've definitely had the issue where I've had a sleeve on a box. I go to put another box on top of it and it rips the box sleeve. Now it's like, okay, I guess I throw that away now.
Yeah.
But
the first time I saw one that it didn't make sense to me, Viceroy had one that kept the base game and the expansion together in one box sleeve. I don't understand why. Like, just put the box on top of the box. If you're not going to put the expansion shit inside the box because it can't fit or whatever, fine. But why did it need a box sleeve? And the same thing happened. I had it on my shelf, and I put something on top of it, and the corner ripped. Fuck the box sleeve. I don't need it anymore. Like, there was no reason for it other than to hold my base and my expansion together in the same cube. Like, made no sense. Box thongs.
The one example of that, Mike, that did actually make sense to me was when Gamelin did that for Tiny Epic Galaxies. They were able to keep the base game and the expansion like together because it does not fit in that tiny little box. That makes sense, but otherwise I don't see the point.
Yep. I don't understand it. I mean, it's an added component, and somebody had mentioned that they lower their pledge when they see it. I don't have access to the comments, but I saw the thing, and to have it as a stretch goal, what?
Oh,
yeah,
like that's even. Like spot UV, fine.
Extra annoying thing on there if you pay us more.
Yeah,
trash.
I don't. I feel it's a production mistake. It's a waste of time. Now you got to measure it. You can't have it too big because it's too loose. But if you have it too tight, it's problems, right?
Yeah.
But like, it seems like it's just like keep it out of your production. Like it shouldn't be a checklist item. It just shouldn't be there. It's like white on yellow. Just don't do it.
Do you have stop it next to that?
No, I have exclamation points. Like my white on yellow is a big thing. I don't know if it's a pet peeve. That's why I was asking, are they pet peeves?
No, I
or
get
are
it.
they
It's
production mistakes.
the white on yellow. Like I'm a yellow player. When I play yellow. It's easiest for me to see. But I get it. You try to put white on there, and it's just so hard to read.
It's so bad.
It burns your eyeballs. Mr. Other Mike.
Yeah, don't do that. All right, so yeah, that was my number 2.
All right, Hollywood Hogan, what you got?
Oh yeah, brother. All right, my number 2 is that first time we were guests on the Full 42 and Tim's internet hamster went into a diabetic coma.
Oh my God, that thing died a horrible death that night. Oh, that was so terrible. I'll never forget that.
It just made us stronger friends, Tim.
It did, but I felt like shit, man. I hated that so much. I was so angry. That was back when you guys used to get on the Discord audio call after the show and everybody talk. And I made sure to get on there and apologize for how trash my connection was that night. Oh, I was so mad.
We didn't hold it against you, obviously.
Clearly.
Not at all.
Poor man's Geek Squad to the rescue. And Tim upgraded his internet. But all right, my number 2, sticking with the really popular, well-loved games, we're gonna go with Arcs. Arcs was a game that was not a hit in our channel whatsoever. We found it very punishing, very luck driven. And even just to score points, you got to draw the right hand or lose actions. And when a game takes 2.5, 3 hours, that just is not a feel good experience. But where they royally screwed up in the production is the miniatures for this game. Bob knows what I'm talking about. Because in Arcs, when you damage a ship, you need to knock your ship on its side to show that it's been damaged, meaning it only needs to be hit one more time to be completely destroyed. The problem is that the miniatures tip over way too easily. Way too easily. And so you pay extra. Yes, the deluxe falling ships. So you pay extra for these.
Oh, not that one.
For these. No, not that.
Yeah,
wait, hold on.
that.
Click on that. Let's see what it is.
Click this link. Hold on.
Yeah.
So if you take a look at just the regular wooden ships, like these are fine. You can slide these across the board.
Like ships, easy to
you
tell.
Don't have to pick them up and move them. If you try to just slide the miniatures across the board, forget it. Those things are falling. I'm trying to find pictures of them. But they actually make the playability of the game worse.
They do.
Like the mechanic of the game is to tip the ship on its side to show it's damaged.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a miniature that tips easier than the wood and then charge extra for it. You just can't.
Yep.
Egregious.
Very disappointing. It's funny. Yeah. There's no pictures of it because everybody else is realizing, you know what? We shouldn't buy the extra.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. So see how the bottom of these ships is like more narrow than the middle?
Like paper.
Why they tip so easy? Yeah.
Nice. Wow. Like you need to take those ships to a grinder and just flatten the bottoms a little more so they sit flat better and they don't just tip on their own.
Yeah, when laying them on their side is part of the mechanic. You can't have deluxe ships that tip
just
as
arbitrarily
easily
fall over.
Yeah, that's.
If I had known what the original ships looked like, I wouldn't even bother buying the deluxe components.
Well, had you known how the game was going to be, you wouldn't have even bothered buying the game. But
that too. Well, you know, because like I played so many trick takers and stuff. Like, you know, I was very intrigued that it's like a trick taker. That's okay.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not dealt these cards. I don't have any planets that offer me those resources, so I can literally never attack anybody unless somebody leads it. In which case, I can play a card face down and attack one time. That's terrible.
This game
terrible. Like I get it. I've played a lot of Lacerados. I've done some tight, games before, but no. Mm-mm.
This game can be really frustrating, and if you get behind, forget it. Game's over.
Yeah. Now, granted, we didn't spend, how many plays were we supposed to play, Mike? 4 plays through at 10 hours before we're actually allowed to have in the game. Yeah.
We reviewed this game at the height of its. Whoa! What the shit?
Wait, where's my clone?
Oh, hold on, I'm working on that. Hold on, let me get that box from Tales of Myth and Legend back up.
Let me just say, there's no such thing. Probably one is too many. One is too many.
Fair.
I like player interaction in my games. I like confrontation, and man, this game produced so many feel bad moments. And yeah, like you said, Bob, we reviewed this at the height of its hype. Gave it 2 chances. It felt terrible both times. And so many people just said, "Oh, you just haven't played it enough." How many times do you need to waste? How much time do you have to waste on a game before you say this just isn't for me?
Yeah,
there's too many games out there to waste that much time on games before you find out it's not for you.
And there are some unique things I did enjoy. Like I did enjoy score. It only scores certain things when you choose to score that certain thing. Like I thought that was super neat. But the whole fact that I can't take an action unless I lead that suit or somebody plays that suit. And I can play one face down, but if I don't have those, I didn't care for that.
And you can't score unless you draw that card either.
Yeah.
You got to draw
you can't choose to score that unless you play that the right thing. So, and I've been too many deck builders where I've been screwed with deals where it's like, oh look, I'm 2 suited. guess I'm not doing half the actions, you know.
Yeah, the suits determine your actions.
I don't know.
Man,
I didn't
brutal.
play
It's
this,
brutal.
but I'm glad I didn't, because I don't think I would have felt
Brutal.
I don't think I would have felt much different than you guys did, to be
And
honest.
I
You
like
got your
Root,
wrestling with
and
Darwin's.
I like Root, another world game, and I even admitted like the first
Yeah.
couple plays, I was like, but then like I played a faction, I enjoyed it, really opened up for me. But man, Arcs, no thanks.
Steph, I would say maybe a little different, just in that, like, a major publisher or somebody that's had a lot of success, I feel
Should
like
know
maybe
better.
they should know better.
Yeah.
It's not the size of the publisher, it's the experience, right? You could still be a small publisher and have done 50 games, and you should know by now.
But if you know, if you've done 50 games, you should know better. If it's your first or second,
First time, it's like, I get it. Mistakes happen. It's your first go at it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad my number one is a bigger publisher. And I'm glad that question was asked right before number one.
All right, so does that take us to?
Takes us to numero uno.
Number one.
Okay.
I love that anticipating sigh. Like, all right, here it comes. Get ready.
So it's my number one because we just reviewed this game, and I gave the game a 9. I loved playing this game, and the insert comes so close. They did a good thing by including a plastic cover to go on top to hold things in place. That's always appreciated, right?
I want to know what it is.
But this insert, you can see it's empty because I'm throwing it away as soon as tonight is over. It does so many things that is bad. So the game is, here you go.
Ostia.
Right?
Oh, it's such a good game.
A few things they screwed up.
Great game.
They offer dual layer player boards as one of the add-ons that you could do. And of course, if you know me, I'm buying dual layer player boards because that's one of my love languages. There's not enough room in the box. If you buy the dual layer player boards, they're not going to fit. Okay, you're going to have about that much lid lift. I do not abide. Also, the buildings that go out on the board, they look all nice and neat in there. Good luck getting your finger. I don't have sausage fingers. I have very average sized fingers. My pinky can fit on one side, but my thumb is not getting in that other hole to pull those bits out of there. Good luck. I hate that. Don't give me an insert that's so tight. I need tweezers like I'm playing friggin' Operation to try to get those bits out of there. No, thank you. And now the same thing with those player bits. I was trying to keep mine in bags because otherwise you're like, hang on, let me keep fishing all of these bits for you out of this well. I don't like it. Make the well big enough that I can put a player bag in there and it fits in there. So I can be like, here's your bag of all your bits. I don't want to sit there for 2-3 minutes trying to fish all your bits out of a well, especially when it's not rounded at the bottom to pull all the bits out of there. Like now the hex pieces, they fit fine inside there. No complaint about that. The other little places where the scoreboards fit underneath there, that's fine. But like I said, when you buy the expansion, now there's no place. Like if you look in there, where are all the treasure chests? Where are all your centurions? This was supposed to come with the expansion, with the Pirates expansion. They don't fit inside the box.
Yeah. Can I say, as long as you have that picture up there, can I just tag on one more complaint about this? Absolutely. I had to look at this picture in order to see where things went because they don't tell you in the box.
They don't. And I mean, that box is without any of the expansion stuff. There are no treasure chests. There are no centurions. Okay. Biggest
Thank
dick
you,
is
anybody
making an appearance inside that box right there.
This was my favorite Bob rant ever. The passion that went into this one. I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. I mean, and then they put these little notches on here. So if you have the normal player boards, everything fits in there fine. If you had no expansion and regular player boards, it fits in there beautifully. But when you're releasing this with an expansion, make room for it. Make room for it. So I went and bought a couple of Planos, and everything fits in the box beautifully now. And guess what? My Planos have rounded edges, so everything scoops out of there super easy. So, yeah.
So, question, because I don't know. You said you added the dual layer boards.
Correct. That was an add-on. Yep.
They don't fit in the box, but do you have to take the original boards out for them to fit, or and you keeping everything?
Threw them away,
and it still doesn't fit.
Still don't fit.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's a mistake.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a person like if I've upgraded like something, Like I've kept a lot of those components like in other bags. I just have like in my attic. So I don't know if I'm ever gonna make a game, whatever. I can use those components for like play testing or whatever the heck. But like all my deluxe stuff is gonna go in the game. I want it in one box. I want to just take that and go. I don't want to have multiple boxes. I want to have just all my deluxe bits in one thing. And here it is. And yeah, I still have, no matter how I try to finagle that. And those pirate ships are super cool, but man, those like sails on there are super fragile. I do not want to break one. So like I have to have my own, I wanted to have my own well for those because like you don't see them in that insert. And so in my Plano box, I've got the own separate well for those pirate ships, and now they should not break anywhere. And I can just pull that box out, open it up. There's my expansion bits. Here's all my player bits. And so, yeah, it's just the way to go.
Well, it was brought up about like publisher size and forgiveness. I have never heard of Uchibakoya and Skellig games.
Right.
Skellig did Mission Control. They're a foreign publisher.
Look at that. Anachrony, On Mars, Voidfall. Woo! There's some big games there.
Skellig, I think, is German.
Keep in mind that just because your name's as a publisher on there, you might not have actually made the game.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, you just got the publishing rights in country X or whatever, right?
Like Skellig did Mission Control. They're the I think the German publisher for Mission Control. So it says it'll be under them for publisher, but it's not. Like they just have the foreign rights to produce it.
Yeah. But like I say, Mike loved that game. I love the game. Like Tim, we played it for a preview, and I liked it so much that I went out there, kickstarted the full-on deluxe version with my own money because I wanted to have a full copy of that game because I had so much fun playing it. I haven't played a lot of Mancala games, but man, I got that insert, and it's so close to being good. Throw it away.
Yeah,
it's rough. That's rough.
Spoiler, we both give it a 9. This game is fantastic. So really kind of a bummer on that insert.
So another one I have to get. Thank you.
Yeah, I also, well, I wasn't on that review, but if I was, I would have given it a 9 as well.
I'm glad I got it. I also got the pirate one. I just haven't played it yet. So
I think it's really cool, and I think the pirates adds a really interesting sort of aspect to it because when we played it twice. We played it just regular, and then we played it with the pirate expansion, like basically re-rack, like let's go, so we could really compare and contrast the differences.
Yep.
So
yeah, and like I said, the bits are beautiful, right? Like, you know, some of the buildings have these little spires on them, and you want to be careful that you don't like break those little, you know, wooden bits off of there. And so you got to be careful about trying to shove everything into the box if you're trying to get it in these wells the way it's intended. And so if you have the expansion, it's just not going to fit in there very well. Just get rid of it. Get yourself one of those. I think I call them, they're the 6-slot Plano boxes. I took 2 of those, and everything fits in the box beautifully. 0 lift, and there's like I can stand on its end. It's not going to shift and go all over the place. I kept the little boat inserts that came in there. I don't know if you noticed those that were in the box. I kept those in there.
The boat trays are cool, man.
Yeah, like they look cool, and they're fine. They're fine. So
I actually wonder how long as an industry we're going to keep doing these big ornate trays and stuff that just fell, because I mean I just got what's the one with the tulips, that retail box, it's the one with the windmill and the tulips on the front.
Windmill Valley,
thank you. I just got that, and I just got another retail box, and both of them no insert, not even cardboard insert. Wow. And so and it doesn't bother me at all.
Sure.
So how long before everybody just goes, yeah, just stop making me pay for all that, and just, you know.
Yep. And so on the similar note, I could mention for Tim the insert for Lords of Waterdeep. You try to put all those coins in those little slots, and you gotta pull it out there, and they go everywhere. Yeah. So
yeah.
Same type of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we could just do an insert show, to be honest.
We could. Definitely could.
Alan, I believe I read somewhere that you can just kind of stuff some of the components in certain, like it doesn't fit, but you get to shimmy things in there, which kind of sucks. But
Planet Unknown already has a thong on it anyway, so.
The problem is that we are now like at such an advanced stage in the hobby that this isn't 2010, or 1990, where you just throw all the loose components in the damn box. Like, no, we're beyond that, and not everything needs to be like this badass vacuum form insert, but if it's not going to be, give us the bags, or
right.
If you're going to give us the Fantasy Flight that sucks.
Yeah.
Give me a shitload of bags to put my stuff in. I don't expect everything to have the game trays, inserts, and everything fits beautifully.
I mean, there are some inserts that do it really well and are incredibly needed for that experience. I mean, the one I can never remember the name of Quadropolis. I can't imagine trying to play that game if it didn't sort out the levels for you from the very beginning, right? Mm-hmm. So there's definitely a need for it, but I think we've just overshot and we're just slapping inserts on everything when we don't need to.
Sure.
Path of Civilization. It's got those trays that stack on top of each other, and they've got a plastic thing that goes on top to hold the last one, everything down, and then boom, you pull it out, unload them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, boom, there they all are, and it makes the setup so much easier. So yes, like the lids are appreciated, but the rest of it has to work too.
And actually, one way that it might go is if you've seen Endeavor Deep Sea, the way they did their classy and better for the environment. I mean,
that was well done.
That's Helena. That's KTBG in Burn Island.
Very well done.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah,
I praise that every time we talk about inserts.
That was
one
my
of the other recent games I gave a 9. Endeavor Deep Sea is fantastic.
Oh, it's so good.
And I've got it over there. I got to play it still. I haven't played it yet.
It's very good.
Oh, Tim, yeah. That's one of those games that we played, re-racked, played again. Like any game that we're like wanting to do that with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Amazing game.
For sure. All right. My number 1, controversial. But here's the thing. So we play a lot of games, right? We review games, and we see a lot of games, and we have limited amounts of time, because we all have day jobs and families and, girlfriends and boyfriends and whatever. I just threw that in there. See if
don't tell my girlfriends about my boyfriends.
Listen, seriously.
Mine knows.
This ain't that kind of party.
Says you.
Right. Crude. But no, like, so it's one thing if I'm going to play a game that takes under an hour or maybe an hour, and we need to play it a couple times just to really like get some of the nuances and see some of the stuff. But if I've got to play a 2+ hour game and they're like, well, you're not really going to get it till like your 3rd or 4th play. Like, no, go to hell. Like, no. No. If I play it one time, because there's some really heavy games that I have played that are longer, and in the first 10 minutes, I'm like, I want to buy this game. And I know there's a ton of stuff that I haven't even seen yet. They're like all these different aspects that we're going to need to explore. But if the first play of that game, now, again, there's going to be some extenuating circumstances. So not every time, right? Maybe you've got a bad teacher. Maybe Bob's being a dick that day and ruins the game for you for the rest of your life. But for the most part, when you sit down and put a game on the table and play it, you should have a pretty good idea of your feeling and vibe for the game. There's definitely been a few where it's like, you know what, we really need to play this again before we sit down and talk about it on camera. But if I play a game and the mechanics feel clunky or the rule book is bad, so it's hard to learn, those are things that I'm going to talk about. And I don't want to get pilloried for talking about a game that just doesn't, you shouldn't have to play a board game. You should not have to play a regular board game 2, 3, 4 times before you're allowed to have a valid opinion on it because you just didn't get it. Like, no, man. I mean, look, if I played, let's just say, for example, I was at a convention and somebody demoed charcuterie for me and I'm like, I don't know, like it wasn't like, maybe they didn't give a good demo. That's a bad example because everybody that is involved at Third World is awesome. But I'm just saying, but then you play it again, it's under an hour. fuck you, Mike. You play it again, it's under an hour, but it's it's a fast game, so that's a bad example. It's a fast game. You could re-rack, play it again, and you could play it a couple times and go, no, you know what, I really didn't like this game, but I played it a few times. But there's been a few games where we have played, and it's like, no, you really just need to play that game like 5 times, and it's like, no, I don't have 2+ hours a pop to play a game that much to then decide I don't like it. Like, no. No. Most board gamers are not going to give a game that much time. Most board gamers are going to play it one time and base their entire opinion, their BGG ranking that they throw up on the thing off of that one experience. And if they have a bad experience, they're never going back to it, and they're going to badmouth it every chance they got. They're going to talk about what a lump of crap that game was. I'm not saying, like, look, there's definitely been games where I've had a first impression that was a bummer, and then it came back and it's like, no, I actually like that game. I just had a bad first time experience. But most of the time that's not a 2-hour plus game, or, an hour and a half plus game. So I'm just saying that it's kind of a mistake if you've got to play somebody's game 37 times to really understand, how good the game is. Because there's definitely games also where there's been like, oh, it didn't jive with me, but there's like a kernel of something there. I really want to play it again. Like Great Wall. Great Wall is a great example. Okay. That was a Kickstarter I backed. I was super hyped for it. Awakened Realms. Played it the first time. Had a miserable experience.
The character's not overpowered, Tim.
Yeah, it's not overpowered. We just
redesigned it on the second go through.
But then, they redesigned it on the second go around. But like the whole thing was like, but there was a kernel, like there was something there that I really wanted to see. So we played it. We played it again the next day just to be sure. And it was like 1 hour less of time, but it still was too long and still not good.
So what's your number one, Tim?
My number one is just that. It's just that you shouldn't have to play a game, especially a longer game, 3 or 4 times.
Games that take 3 to 4 times before you can have. It's more of like a critique on YouTube criticisms. I feel like we get critiqued by and play it enough times.
It's not the publisher that tells you that, right? It's got to be be like the fans of it, right?
Yeah, but I feel like there's been a game or two where like one of the designers was like, well, you guys didn't.
You should play it more.
Yeah, you should play it more.
Sure. That's just as a designer not knowing that they can't make everybody happy.
You're not allowed to have an opinion on art, Tim.
Yeah, also true. Yeah, fuck that. I'm allowed to have an opinion on art and board games. That's what we do. But I just think that unless your game, like Flip 7, let's say you had a bad time playing Flip 7 the first time. That game takes 10 minutes. And the teach is 5 seconds. Who you could play that game 3 or 4 times and then go, you know what? Like I spent 20 minutes playing this game, I don't like it, and you've got a valid opinion and you played it a bunch, you tried it, I don't like it. But most games are not like that. If I'm gonna play, like I haven't played Arcs, but I think you guys got dogged on Arcs, right? You didn't play it enough. I thought somebody said something.
One thing. We played it like 3 times, and it was like an hour and a half to 2 hours at least each time. We didn't care for it, and we got dogged on it because, well, you should play it more, and you'll start to see where the good parts come out. I don't have that much free time, bro. So.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, and there's other games, right? Like there's games that will like lead you into. You'll have like that introductory scenario or something, which allows you to sort of like to build you up
some of the rules and to start to get your mind around how it works. Yeah,
right. But anyways, judge
it by the tutorial, judge it by the first mission.
But so this is my sort of nebulous one that encompasses like a bunch of games.
Anti-nebulae. Got you.
Yeah.
No, as reviewers, you hear that a lot more too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And and it is a reviewer gripe, but I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and you want to represent games fairly, but I do think though that it is fair to say that most people are only going to play a game once, maybe twice if they don't like it.
I had a friend in college. His name was Dave Thomas. No relation to the Wendy's guy. I asked him.
Immediately.
And he always told me, you should try a thing twice because, maybe you have a bad experience the first time and it's not its fault, right? So try it another time. Make sure it just wasn't an anomaly. And so I try to, if I'm going to have a bad opinion about something, at least try it twice, if not a third time before I formulate my opinion. Like, you know what? It's just not for me. And we definitely try to do that with games that we don't care for. If it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, it's, just don't taste good.
Can I say, so as a non-reviewer, I've only reviewed 2 games and that was disastrous. As a non-reviewer,
Disastrous.
not disastrous, but I didn't enjoy it. As a non-reviewer, I don't expect reviewers to play more than once because if you don't like it the first time, that's enough for me. You've listened, you've played 1,000 other games, you know what you like, and you know why you didn't like that game. I don't need you guys to spend 3 gameplays on something you're not enjoying. Now, maybe other people feel differently, but if you go, hey, I played this game and I didn't enjoy it, and there weren't extenuating circumstances like a bad teacher or you were at a place where it was real loud and all that stuff, then just let people respect your opinion and tell them to get the fuck out of there.
And we try to take
louder
those kind of things
for the
into
people in the back.
we try to take those things into consideration too, right? Like, look, I learned this game.
I tried to do something with a strategy that wasn't quite valid, didn't work out. Like it was not a game thing; it was a me thing.
Yes,
so
but you guys know game systems well enough to know that, right?
I mean, we at least put that out there like that.
It's not going to work for that game. You're like, oh, I really like doing this type of thing in a game. Let me try to go for end game points. Oh, there's not really enough points in the end game for me to have a valid score that might win. I need to earn more points throughout the game so I can be competitive during the game. Because I love doing end game scoring stuff, but sometimes there's not enough points earned during end game that you have to earn enough points during the game to really make your score competitive.
I'm just saying, as friends, don't waste your time on stuff that you hate.
Sure. No, and that's the other thing is sometimes it just makes you hate it more. It's like,
true.
God, I'm like wallowing in this again.
I was right the first time.
Yeah. Nope. Still hate it.
Yeah, still hate it. Don't play the game.
This is a great conversation, and I have my opinions as well.
Sure.
And I think everybody's different in what they like and how they approach games.
100%.
My most recent is with Fromage. I was teaching the game to, we were playing it 4-player, and I was teaching it to 3 other people. It was their first time. Someone had passed by and said something, oh, I love this game. I'm like, don't underestimate the fruit. Make sure you do the fruit. Pay attention to the fruit. It's a winning strategy. Okay. I have yet to win that game with the fruit strategy. It doesn't work. It's the idea is you have these berries and certain locations are restricted and you have to have a berry in order to place in either the fruit or the jam location. And when you do that, you move one of your berries into the fruit or the jam location. And at the end of the game, it's your fruit times your jam is part of your score. So if you really focused on that thing, you could, but I've never, it doesn't win. Like the people that do that will get 9, 12 points and it's not a game changer. Like those people, you got to play it more to get the strategy of the game down. I don't think you do. But on the flip side, when you give it a game, when you give it a rating and you say the game is broken after one play, that's where I'll have the issue. Right?
That's a little different.
Totally
different.
That's where the issue is. And we don't have time to play 5,000 games that get published a year. So sometimes you only have maybe 1 to learn it, 2 to play it, right? Because your first game is a teach game. Then you actually play it, understanding it, and then you can give a critique. It's not for me, but if you only play it once and you're like, this game is broken or anything like that's where the issue, I think, starts coming.
I can tell you also, though, as reviewers, we have sat down, played a game, and feel like it's broken, and then been like, we're not going to do anything on this yet because we need to play it again just to make sure we're understanding. And then the other thing is we do have the benefit of a lot of the time, not every time, but a lot of time we kind of know or have a contact with the designer, and I can just reach out and go, hey man, like this,
is this right?
Is this right? We're playing this like this. Now, if they come back and say yes, we're like, bad. But most of the time we just had something wrong, and then you figure it out, and then you're like, okay, well, do I like it the way that it's supposed to be?
Taking that into consideration.
Yeah.
But that's what makes you guys different, albeit better. than some other reviewers out there, because you take the time to contact the contact to make sure, like, hey, is this right? Or play it again, or like, there's a difference between them.
Yeah, there are a lot of reviewers that go ahead and just make their whole video without contacting you about this glaring mistake. Really, they just read the rule wrong, right?
Yeah.
We have made errors.
We have made errors.
Everybody does, but
We have made errors and we have learned and gotten better. But yeah, man, it's.
Yeah, I mean, Mike had an error with charcuterie during his thing, but there are reviewers that don't even play the game that review a game based on what they read in a rule book or something. Like, that's not. There's a difference there between like what you guys do and what others do, and you guys do it right, I think, from what I know. I mean, you guys, if you're not doing it right, you come across right. So
yeah, no, I'll take it. No, but that's just the thing that I hate. I just don't think that you should expect somebody to, especially longer games, specifically longer games, play their game multiple times before you're allowed to have an opinion on it. Like, no. You know, so
there's no time.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Mike, I don't know how you do this without having things in order, because I have 3 things and I don't know what to pick.
Right. That's what makes it fun.
No, it's not fun. This is miserable.
No, it's fun.
I'm going to pick the one that doesn't piss off my friends.
No. Come on.
No. Well, because I know friends who do both of these 2 things, so I'm going to pick one that doesn't. But because I don't like all 3 of them, I'll mention it afterwards. But don't make me pay, let's say, more than $1 for your solo in bullshit that you throw into a box to make 10 people happy. Don't make minis. Don't make huge decks of cards that take up half the box. Don't add dice and custom stuff like that. I'm not buying a solo game. You weren't even making a solo game, be honest with yourself, until you put it on crowdsourcing. And so everybody else was like, where's the solo? And now you're like, hey, fine, I'll make a solo. If you're going to make a solo, keep it cheap and give me a little space to put it away to where I'll never see it again. Because most of us, 95% of us who are being nice and quiet, don't play the solo pieces. So
the solo players are like the vegans of the board game hobby. They're going to let you know that they're vegans.
That's great. Yeah. And I'm happy to make them happy if, it's just a little bit of cards, a little bit of extra something, that's fine. But every little bit that you make for solo players, I'm paying for, and I don't want it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I've had games I'm like, I know I paid $5 for this. I know what this stuff costs.
Yeah,
to
be fair, every co-op game is solo if you're lonely enough.
Some of them. Yeah. You can't play Dead of Winter solo.
Sure you can.
There's no
betray yourself. There's not always a traitor in Dead of Winter.
Myself.
Pure co-op. Not
Listen, as someone that's been good at blowing up their life, I have been the traitor in my own life many times.
I'm my own worst enemy.
I've got the X's to prove it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's me.
No, that's good. That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yep. Yeah, it is. Extra shit for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I see a chat thing in here that says solo option sells more games. I would argue, and I have argued, that that's a fraction that doesn't need to be considered.
I mean, that would be an interesting metric to see, right? Like how many more sales. So does that outweigh? I think
they're louder than the percentage that it seems that they represent. I think that they should have games to play, and if a game can just introduce solo with a few cards or something, awesome. You're better for everybody. But don't increase the price of your game, the MSRP of your game for it.
Sure.
Good point. I like that you're like, I know how this stuff costs. I know what this stuff costs.
Everything I open, I'm like, yep, that costs that. Yeah.
You're like Rain Man. You can't turn it off.
I know.
No.
All right.
Oh, it's me.
It is.
All right. So there are games that have a lot of bits, player count bits. You have cubes, you have meeples, you have coins, you have whatever. And then you have these inserts, nice, elaborate inserts where everything's supposed to go and no map on how to put it away.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
Oh.
So there's two things. One, give me a map in the book. Like it should be in the rule book. These are all the things you just punched. This is where they go. Cool. Back of the rule book, right during like component count, whatever. But like we talked about, rule books have to be in groups of 4. You can't just add one page to a rule book. So cool. You got a lot of pictures. You got a lot of stuff. You can't just add a page. You don't have room. Awesome. Give me an insert. Give me a 1-panel printable. Hey, this is where all the stuff's going to go. Cool. You don't want to do that? Cool. The bottom of your box, you have the lid that goes on top. The bottom of your box has 4 sides of absolutely useless space.
Yep.
Put it there.
Yep.
Put it there.
Yep.
Don't regurgitate the same art on 4 sides. It's wasted. Put it there. Stonemeyer did it. We did it with Stuff a Legend. With not every game, but games that have a lot of stuff with a nice component. Like it's cool that you put some icon on the bottom of a component tray that telling me what components are supposed to go in that little compartment. But sometimes that icon doesn't even match the icon of what you're telling me to put in there. Like if the icon on the back of the card, cool. If the icon is a shape, a resource shape, cool. But sometimes that doesn't even match. Give me a map. Somehow there is wasted space on your game. I'm sure there's wasted. Print on the inside cover of your box. I see people doing that.
On the outside of the bottom of the box. I'm looking around trying to figure out what game it was, but
Tapestry. No. There was what game does it? There is a game that does
had
it.
it listed on the outside of the bottom of the box. So
Scythe and Tapestry do it.
That's Stonemeyer. That's where we
did it for Troubles, the Orange Box Edition.
Stuff a Legend. We put it on the bottom outside, like where there's just dead space. Like give it there's some place to put it. Not all games need it, but the games that do, put it in there. I mean, it's and I hope I'm not stealing this from Mike and Bob.
No, you're not. You're not.
In today's day, you add the bags. Like it's a nominal increase in your cost to add bags for these bits. If you're like, just pay attention to those kind of things. Like there is room in your game somewhere to put. Maybe it's not an exploded view that like Tapestry did or that Scythe did with like everything being labeled, but there's a way to put it in there. Do it. Put it in there. It needs it. It needs it.
That's one of the things that Mind Clash has done really well, because like I've got like Perseverance and I got like the Infinity Box and whatnot. There's like literally a booklet that tells you, here's layer 1, here's all the bits, what trays they go in, put all these down the bottom. Here's layer 2, you know, and
well, even
really
CMON will map their mini trays, right? Like they go
or do like League of Legends did, and just say, you know what, doesn't matter, all the minis can go in a slot. So
yeah, Mechs vs Minions, best insert in a game I've ever had.
Yeah, I have that right here. I love Mechs vs Minions.
Oh, it's so good.
The other thing you can do as a publisher or someone who's trying to not make these production mistakes is look at other games around your weight that what did they do?
Right.
Like look at Andromeda's Edge. Perfect. It's in there. It needs it, and it's in there. Great. Dead Reckoning on the inside of the lid. Awesome. I didn't know that, but I haven't played that game. Or I played it, but I didn't, like, it wasn't my copy.
You didn't have to put it away. Yeah.
For those of you who are watching this in the future, I'm sorry for the Critter Kitchen error that I made on our sheet. Because I'm the one that made it. I use an old image of where things go, and we updated it, and it didn't get updated on the sheet, and that was my fault.
I did notice, and maybe there is some way to do it that I haven't seen yet, but Andromeda's Edge did include sleeves as a pledge, and this might be an honorable mention. I might be stepping on Mike's toes. I hope I'm not.
You're not.
But like sleeves that are included in the pledge, but then the sleeved cards don't fit in the insert. You know, it's like, what are you doing?
They do, but you have to put them in a different place. And that's just as much an error as the other.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if I decide to sleeve it on my own, okay, you didn't intend for that. But when you're including it as a pledge level, make your insert accommodate it. You know?
Yep. We're aware of that.
I talk about this because it's not on our show, and I'll bring it up in a perfect example. Look at what Chris did with Troubles. He's got where the cards go in a plus sign, right? So if you're not sleeving it, you put it this way, and if you sleeve it, you put it this way. But forward thinking of that space where the cards were going, that if you are and they didn't come with sleeves, but if you're going to sleeve it because shit gets shuffled and you don't want things to get marked, at least there was that forward thinking of what to do if.
Yeah, I'm surprised I've never seen that before. That was Aaron's idea. I thought it was brilliant because the spaces are open from not like if it's sleeved, it's this way, and it's empty spaces here or where you grab the cards.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's not sleeved, it goes this way, and there's your empty spaces to grab the card.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't seen that anywhere else.
That's
I always
so
thought that was
smart.
great. Yeah.
Wait, you didn't make the slots just barely enough for me, big enough to get my pinky in there?
We provide tweezers with.
There you go.
There you
we-
go.
Trouble tweezers. Now I want trouble tweezers. Troubles tweezers.
Trouble
Oof.
tweezers.
If you can't say it, you can't have them.
They got to be orange with one eye on them.
There you go.
That'd be funny.
All right, so
Mr.
that was it. Give me,
Mike.
give me a how to organize, how to put it back in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ostia didn't have it, and I already stepped on your toes with that one ahead of time.
That no, you started talking about it, but that is my that and don't do white on yellow. Those are my
All right.
two. Like, whenever I think of this,
Back to call back.
Back to white on yellow. Ah! Yeah.
I want to know what Seppi's doing up so late past his bedtime.
I know, right? Hey,
I'm
Seth.
happy to see him.
Mhm.
I'm always happy to see Seppi, but he is up way past his bedtime.
Although he's going to keep letting my secret out of the bag.
Oh, yeah. Bob's a bag
Oh,
of cats.
Question.
We determined that Bob's just not a real person, but a bag of skin
Cats.
operated by cats.
Oh, like the thing in Men in Black.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You look good.
Thanks.
For a bag of cats.
For a bag of cats, you look great. dude.
Cats look pretty good. For a flesh bag of cats. Yeah.
All right.
That was my number one.
That's good.
Let's go, Beans. Let's
All
get
right.
out of here. It's after
All
11.
right.
Which got me.
My number one is that time that we promoted our live top 5 most anticipated 2025 games video from our studio, which has multiple 4K cameras, a mixing board, and several high-end PCs, but our editor couldn't get StreamYard to recognize any of those cameras plugged into it. All right, that's my joke number one.
That was a lot of stuff.
I mean, it's a production value kind of. It's a production thing.
I thought you were going to say your number one was whenever you get to your number one, Tim just gets up and walks away.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to listen to Mike anyway. So,
Oh,
to be fair.
well, that's true. All right.
It's something.
My
in the-
number one, not every reprint is a good thing. Not every second edition is better than first edition. Specifically, I am talking about Ethnos second edition, which they botched completely.
Ooh.
All right.
Ooh, tell
I
me
haven't
more.
played second edition and I don't want to. I own first edition. I think it's a fantastic game. It is a
Yep.
wonderful mix from Paolo Maori. They combine set collecting, fast turns, and area control. Play goes really fast around the table. You can play 6 players and still easily get this game in about 70, 80 minutes. It's a great design. So the thing that people always complained about with Ethnos was the art. Okay, yeah, the box is a little bland. All right. Yeah, not great. The colors are kind of muddy. They all sort of mix together. The
Sure.
board, very bland. All right. Not a whole lot of color there. That's fine. All right. So you, Simon, not a small publisher, you take a game, you keep the exact same mechanics and the exact same rule book, and somehow they butchered this rule book. If you actually read it verbatim from the rule book, it breaks multiple of the multiple factions in this game. They additionally they decided to change up multiple things about this game. One is now we've just got icons at the bottom of the cards. It used to be text that told you exactly what every card did. Not every game needs to be language independent. Do we really need every game to be language independent? No, we don't. We really don't. Especially when some of the icons like look similar to each other. I don't understand it. And the player aids that explain the icons aren't even that good. In fact, there's already multiple threads about people making their own player aids because the player aids that come in the box suck. Now, let's also look at some of these colors. Where is it? Hold on, there's a thread on this. It's called Second Edition Hate, is what the actual thread is called.
Nice.
I can go to it. It
Nice.
proves the point. But okay, let's talk about other things they did that are worse. In first edition, the icons are on both corners of the card. So it doesn't matter if you play left-handed or right-handed. The suit icon is in both corners. Second edition, one side. So if you're left-handed, sorry, play your cards the other way, I guess.
That's the worst.
To be fair, Mike, you have small hands, so you always use call throws anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. And
right
does
there.
every game need to have anthropomorphic animals now? Is that
Yes.
like do we all have to have that in every game?
Mhm.
Like I thought the factions they had were fine. Fantasy
Orcs, elves,
and
dwarves.
halflings and
Yeah.
elves. I was cool with that, but no, I guess let's just do anthropomorphic animals all the time now. I guess
sell.
that's what we got to do.
It's safe.
And then okay, the other thing is now
It's not racist.
Ethnos is a 10-year-old game. They came out with the fairies faction 10 years ago, like shortly after this game came out. It was an expansion character. Well, they made the fairies and 3 other factions promo factions, meaning you have to go to specific stores or track them down at conventions to get them. We're not talking about a certain card. We're not talking about one card that has alternate art or a holographic anthropomorphic animal. We're talking about 4 different factions that have 12 cards each, which means there's 48 cards total that you have to track down as promos. This has a form fit insert, doesn't fit sleeve cards. Also doesn't fit any of those promo factions you may go chase down. So as soon as you get one of those factions, just throw your insert out.
Oh wow!
Not every game needs to have a second edition. The first edition was perfect. Not perfect. The art's bland. But
I was gonna
literally,
say,
that's what we got.
I've heard you
We got
complain about
bland
first edition.
we got bland art, and here the usability, the playability of the game suffers because of the decisions they made. And this is CMON. They got enough money. They have 2 CEOs, for Christ's sake. They got enough money to make this game correct. So second edition, Ethnos.
They don't have the money to make it correct because they have 2 CEOs. They got to
Right.
pay.
I think they're still paying off Zombicide Black Plague. So
Yeah.
Best
Yeah.
version.
I'll go a step further and just say that I actually liked the artwork on the cards and stuff in the original Ethnos. I didn't like the board. Everybody knows that's bland. That could have been done better. I would have been fine with keeping the same box art and card art and
Yep,
just make
same.
the board a little better and you're good.
I agree with you on the cards. I think because they're all the same color palette, when they slapped all of them on the box, they sort of muddy together. But individually on the cards, I think they're gray.
I mean, it kind of looks like a kind of Baroque feel of the painting styles that I thought was kind of interesting. You don't see it in board games often.
it's like
But none of
Fantastic.
it-
We talked about Fantastic on Monday.
Yeah.
That same kind of thing.
None of it actively like ruins your enjoyment of the game, though. And I've never actually, while playing the game, where anybody goes like, "Oh man, this art's terrible." Like that's never happened. Ugh.
Wow.
Well,
That's it.
I already chose not to get it, so cool.
Yeah.
Glad you reinforced that.
They
I'm
really
really
screwed up.
afraid that there's going to be the same kind of feeling with the Defenders of the Realm second edition.
I hope not.
Because I love the first edition so much and the fantasy art and whatnot that it has on there. And then when I saw the second edition at Gen Con, I was very like, it's very chibi.
Yeah, I was not excited when I saw the new art for Defenders of the Realm. I did. It is one of my all-time favorite games, and I like that classic fantasy art for it. So I'm gonna have to see how it plays and what it does.
Yeah, because I want to get because like there's some friends of mine that really love that game. They always want to play it when they come to my house, and I'd like to get it for them for like Christmas or their birthday or something like that. But like I say, the first edition's hard as heck to find. When you find it's expensive. So sweet, there's a second edition. And I'm looking at it. I'm like,
yeah.
So
So Richard did a good job of streamlining a lot of the original. It's still true to its base. If you're looking at it from an art perspective, the art is definitely different. But like if you look at Dragon Rage, and the Arcane Wonders version of Dragon Scales, like they changed that game and it wasn't as good. Dragon Rage is also a Lanius game, and the Dragon Scales was done with a modern art, like it all popped, but they changed the game, where it sounds like this. I mean, they didn't change the game; they just made some production missteps, right? Not putting the icon on the top of the card on both sides. That should be done. That sucks. Not having the space for stuff that's going to go in the box is also that's a big
Oh, that's brutal. That is brutal.
Yeah, the fairies originally were a promo, right? I thought I got that when I bought gizmos at a Gen Con.
Either a promo or an expansion. They were added later for sure, and they're really difficult to find for first edition unless you vastly overpay for them.
Yeah, I got them with. I didn't even know. I just went to buy gizmos, and we were like, "Hey, you want those faction?" I was like, "Oh my god, give me that!" Because I love that.
Nice. Hell yeah!
I was like, "Yes." I was
great game.
I was so happy for that. I was like, "Okay, this game." I was looking at this and stuff. It was funny. I've never done that before with a promo.
But I actively look for like 6-player strategic games because at that count, a lot of games want to be social deduction or party games, and so I like being able to have higher player count games where you're not splitting a group up, and this one does it so well with like no downtime.
Yep.
Mike, don't worry. All the factions that are promos that you have to track down at other conventions to get the whole thing, CMON will just put it all in one little pack for you later on.
Yeah, and they just sell it to you.
Yeah.
We'll see. I want that. Where'd you get that?
Just saying. Daryl got it from me from Essen. You know what else I have?
Something else I want?
Yeah.
And don't worry, CMON will sell those Kickstarter exclusives on Miniature Market.
They will.
Wow.
Oh, hell yeah. Those are
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, these are neat. I love that he's on the gargoyle. That's one of my favorite. The comic.
That's really cool.
That's cool.
Thing. I love it. But yeah, this was all the different promos that you got at Essen or you got at different conventions. They put it all in one little thing, and they added minis.
So my Gray Hulk that I tried so hard to get is in there. I tried like 2 days in a row to finally get that.
Get your Mr. Fix.
Oh, I don't even have a mini for him.
No, because they were just packs of cards.
Now
it has a mini. Fine. Mr. Sinister and Scarlet Witch, they all have.
Wow.
At least there's a way to get it.
Those are rookie numbers, Evan. You got to bump those up.
What was that? Yeah, they'll put all the expansions for Ethnos in one little thing for you later. Don't worry.
Honorable mention,
for second edition.
Ooh, let me see if I have any left. You guys hit a couple of mine. I don't know if I got any left here.
Yeah, a lot of mine got covered.
Yeah, I guess like
Comic Hunters.
Yeah, I talked about that. I talked about that on our great games with bad components list, so I didn't bring
the other
it
one was
back up.
Terraforming Mars. If I have to buy an extra player board before I can even play your game, it's annoying.
Also had it on that list.
Yeah,
I had color
blindness. Else got mentioned
things.
What was that, Mike?
I had color blindness as one of my things.
Yeah, gamers
hate
with color
colorblind
blindness.
people?
It's terrible. Yeah, they're obnoxious. They get in the way of design.
Yeah, they just make games much more harder to make.
I'll see myself out.
Yeah, bye. Your monochrome cat with you. No, the idea that in today's day and age you can't think ahead to colorblind lists. Like there's so many filters out there. There's so many things that you can use to make sure that your game covers maybe even the most one, whatever is red, green, or whatever the most, like just
That's
do
the
a
most common.
little bit extra to make sure the damn things work. Like, and there's some games that you can't, like I think about Sagrada. Sagrada's got your basic colors. Andrew, what's up? It's got your basic colors, and if you can't see red, green, it's kind of hard. And hopefully the players you're playing with can separate the piles to you, or if you have a question about what's on your board, like, hey, what color is this? There was no real way other than getting a full set of custom dice with the pips that were shapes to make it, which was something that was talked about. that there are some games that you might not be able to, but if you can, then you should. Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
There's a really cool app I have that I get whenever I get the, whenever I get the stuff from the printer and stuff. It lets you see through your camera in different types of color blindness, and you can pick every single type there is to see all the differences. It also works on your screen. You just point it right at the screen and you can do it. But there's also websites that you can put it on, and it'll do it, show you all the different ways to do it. There's just so many tools. There's no reason.
And minimal effort, really, right? Yeah. I mean, with the app, it takes not even minutes to set up.
I will say I've been involved in projects where, like, if you're doing 8-player colors, you're in trouble.
Oh, that's tough. There's
only so many shades.
Yep.
Or 12. Yeah, there's only so many shades.
There were 12 colors, and it was a pain in the ass. Yeah.
That was actually one of my honorable mentions, Bob. And I'm not going to go through the whole rant, even though it was pretty epic. I covered it when we did our great games with bad components. It's Queen's production of Marrakesh, one of my favorite Stefan Feld games. But there's 12 different colored action tokens in that game. And their attempt to make it colorblind friendly doesn't really work. But there's a lot of egregious production mistakes in that game. But one of them is a general thing you can apply to a lot of games when there's a deluxe, a classic, and an essential edition. Which one do you get? Yeah. Like, just make it easy for anyone, regardless when they're jumping into your game, to figure out which copy of the game they should get. When there's a deluxe and a classic and a big box and an essential, it's like, just don't make it easy for people to buy your product and then get it and then be like, oh, I thought this one had this and it's not in the box. Yeah. I hate that kind of stuff. Don't make me do all this research to figure out which version of the game to buy.
I have a petty one that I have several friends who have done this. So it's just petty, and it's just my own opinion. Stop making the games look like a book. It's not original anymore.
Oh,
I have at least 20 of these.
What is it? Facade games. There's one.
Yeah, there's tons of them. They're all over the place, and it's every time I see it, they're like, "Look, it looks like a book." Big deal. There's tons of those. They're all over the place. It's not special. Stop doing it. Do something else.
Oh, that's fun.
And I know I have friends that are be like, "Oh, but I made one of those." I know.
Like, you mean the box is like it's meant to look like a book, like it's got the round spine, or it's just printed?
No, it looks like a book. So, like, if you put it on your shelf, it looks like a book right there.
The art looks like a book.
Yeah, the art of it. Yeah.
Oh, because there are games that actually are like booked, like they're in a book, rounded edge, like.
No, that's different. I mean, like, you made, and sometimes it's even a sleeve that you put on,
right? Yeah,
which is worse. We already talked about sleeves.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's not an original idea. It needs to be over with.
I'll throw one last honorable because it was pretty bad, and this is a rehash of the one we did before, but Disney Sorcerer's Arena from the Op. Oh, they really could have had something if they would have got those health dials down, but when you had to lift them to move them, they unfortunately botched those health dials.
Yep. Agreed.
Again, every time you talk about that, I always think like the board is always a bigger problem for me than
it's just purple. Yeah.
Than the dials. But yeah, the dials aren't great. Those acrylic minis are amazing, and the card art is great. The iconography is really strong. They do a lot of things right in that game.
I played that game before it was released with Andrew Wolf, and it's great. I love the game. I got everything for it.
Same.
That really is the only misstep of those dials. And he texts someone over there. I don't know who it was, and I don't know what they had something to do with the game. I don't know what it was. And we were like, that's big. Like, is this game in production yet? Like, have you hit print? Like, that's a big misstep. And they're like, we're going to fix it for a future edition. But they knew that it was just an oversight. Like, was I on 8? Was I on 7? Oh, I forgot. Like, it's just oh God, it was brutal.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Great game. Love
the game. Love the game. Love the art. Love the vibe. I have a good time playing it.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Come on.
Well, that was
fun.
That was a spicy topic. That's fun.
Spicy.
It
I
seems
don't
like
wanna
it's all things that we should know to do, or people should know to do. It's stuff that we like and don't like in games that we play. Like these are
Right.
the things.
Looks like it happened while we were talking.
Yeah, it
I
did.
don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it did happen.
Oh yeah,
Tales,
it happened a while ago.
You know.
Tales of Myth.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna relaunch.
Oh.
Yep.
That's not such a bad thing.
They were so close, 10K.
Yeah, but that might cover costs, but it's not what you want, right? You want to do a big production value and get those numbers up where you're not printing 3,000, you're printing 10,000, right? So you can get more out there. And
Sure.
Like I said, man, I had to cancel the first Troubles, came back and much stronger.
Yeah.
You've already built up a little audience now to build on porn. So.
Correct.
Not the end of the world.
Yeah. Might
Well,
even be better for it.
For some of those Greek mythological creatures, it was, but
Hey-o.
It'll be better for it in the end.
sure.
And hey, maybe next time they'll pick a channel like the Rundown to do some content.
That was I
shit.
sent an email to AJ asking, like, look, you're looking for feedback. This was the problem. You would have been fine had you gotten them a copy to review. But
Now we're only playing it once though.
just know no reviewers.
To be fair though, and to be fair and just objective, when there's no creator content on day one, it's sometimes a red flag. Like, why is there no content? So anyway,
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing with movies when it's like, well, why is no major movie reviewer seen this? And it's like, well, they didn't show it to anybody for a reason.
This is true.
It's true.
Yeah. We do have the milkshake.
We do.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, shit.
That was good.
Yeah, this was awesome, guys. It's always a blast.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
I think I got all of my complaints out except for one, but that's fine.
No, what was it?
We've completed the airing of the grievances.
No, it's one that I talked about on, I think, ad nauseum on our thing. It's don't lie to me about 2-player, right? I've done that many times. Like it says 2-player, but it's really 2-player with a bot. Like that's 3-player. So
yeah, that's not 2-player.
Doing Imperium, you got to use the app as a third player.
Yeah, that's an actual lie to your customers. You are lying to your customers, and I will call you on it.
Right.
Now, if it's like Forges where you can add the AI if you would like, but it's
that's different.
Game, that's different. But yeah, no, you have to do it. Pass.
I hate
that app does work well, but I still hate doing it. It doesn't matter how easy it runs.
Yep.
Yeah, Evan. See you next week.
Dang, Evan, I wish I was going.
Ooh.
Bob's arm needs some work.
I've never been to Gama.
You need to work that shoulder a little more while you're at it there.
Well, you got one more year in Louisville. So all the bourbon will be bought this year and next year. And then I don't know if they're staying or if they're going to go someplace else.
If they'll re-up or move it.
It's a beautiful spot. And it's central. It's nice for people to get to. It's not in fucking Reno that has no direct.
Right.
Speaking of bourbon, I just found out a really weird historical fact. During, it had nothing to do with board games. During Prohibition, did you know that the police poisoned alcohol that they knew criminals were taking, and over 10,000 people died from it?
Not shocking.
Showed those sinners.
Yeah.
Wow.
Weird fact of the
Nice.
Ouch. Bella, you're so pokey.
I just heard that. So
that's
now we all.
I would like to get to Gamma. Maybe next year. Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, I've never been to Gamma.
Once I get to 3 weeks vacation, I'll have more time for that stuff.
If my car didn't literally just poop, there was a really good shot.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. It's Sunday through Friday, right, or whatever.
Such weird days. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's more of an expo. It's more for the retailers to connect, and so it's more like it's a week thing. It's a lot of expos do that, but it literally is Monday. Like the exhibit hall is just Wednesday, Thursday. It's 2 to 6 on Wednesday, 10 to 5 on Thursday. That's the exhibit hall. Otherwise, it's a bunch of seminars and a bunch of meetings and a bunch of pitches and all the other stuff. Networking, huge networking.
Well, and that's kind of like for us, right? Why we would want to go I mean, not just to see like all our friends and and everybody that is going to be there, but that networking aspect is huge because this whole industry, whether you're a designer, content creator, it's all networking and getting to know people and building those relationships.
We don't need relationships.
Yeah.
Bob is done with relationships. Bob is over relationships. No more.
Yeah.
Then you'll feel bad whenever you give those relationships bad reviews, though.
Yeah.
No. You're honest.
Yeah, exactly. We're honest. So try to be.
I mentioned the two reviews that I did.
Saying.
Yeah, I mentioned the 2 reviews that I did. One of them made one of the designers sad, and I heard about it, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So that's why
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think for us though, honestly, like if at least one of us doesn't have something positive to say about the game, especially if it's a smaller publisher or an indie publisher, we're just not making content. I'll just reach out to them and be like, hey, this wasn't for us. Can I pass it along?
Yeah. I mean, I gave it a 7.8 out of 10, but something I said sounded bad. So.
I mean, that's still pretty good. But if Bob, like, for example, Bob backs like a Kickstarter from a major publisher and we bring that in, put it on the table. I mean, we're just going to do that. We're not going to, our opinion isn't going to hurt Simon. You know what I mean? They'll be fine.
Right. Yeah.
Arcs, I bought it at Gen Con. We played it 3 times. Did not like it. We're going to review it. We're going to give it the score we think it deserves. Now, if that was something that we liked, who would say didn't land with us?
If you only played that game a 4th time, though, I think you'd be.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And invest in the campaign as well.
Right.
Yes. Because buying the base game plus the expansion plus the minis was not enough. I also have to get the.
It's like building a castle in the swamp. The first one, not so good.
That's right.
Yeah, the first one fell down.
But the third,
stayed up.
Yeah, you got to have that foundation of all the failed castles first.
Right.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of huge tracts of land. So what can I say?
Yeah, you are. That one burned down, fell over, then sank into the swamp.
That's right.
But the 4th one stood up.
That's right.
I did not crash your game, Evan.
Third play bias. That's right.
But
everybody's going to go look at what I reviewed, so they can
no shit. That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I just think that like if Goog sent us a game, I'd be honest with him, and if we didn't like it, I'm gonna be like, look, brother, I'm not gonna make anything on this because I don't have much nice to say about it. Now, if I spend my own money on a game, and again, especially if it's a big title and it's on the hotness and it makes sense to make a video for it. I mean, we'll make a video for it, but
we won't bash it just to bash it. We're gonna be honest about it.
Yeah, exactly. And even the games that I give lower ratings to, I still try to point out like
things you did like about
things I do like and people that I think it might still be for, right? It just didn't land with me, but hey, because again, everybody's opinions are subjective. You're going to bring your own experiences to the table.
In my example, I gave it a great review. I just said, this one little thing I don't like. And in another podcast, that designer brought up that.
Oh.
And was like, that made me feel so bad, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, crap, that's my review he's talking about.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to make people feel like that. So.
And I mean, I'm not a game designer as of yet, but like, I feel like if you're going to design games, not everybody's going to like your game. Everybody's got different opinions. It's like if you're an artist and you paint something, some people look at a Mona Lisa and be like, that's shit, but most people are like, yeah, it's beautiful.
She's not really smiling.
She's not really, but her eyes do follow you everywhere you go. So,
and it's this big.
I was going to say it's not near as big as you think.
Yeah,
It is very tiny. Yeah.
That's what she said.
Hey,
Game.
Would you make content on a game that you know you don't like?
that depends.
You mean like this episode?
That really has to be circumstantial, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
All right.
so for example,
I'll
we
give
did
you
make
more
content
information.
on a game I didn't like. We played Champions of Midgard, a game I do not like. When we were doing like a series called Board Game
Also
Roulette.
worked on it.
Hey, yo.
It was the graphic design.
Just,
Yeah, it was-
just the expansion, so it's not my fault.
Oh,
That's
that
what
was
made
the
the
good
game
part.
True.
But no, with like kind of the appeal of playing that was like, haha, let's see if Tim likes this game. And it was also, we can get Tim to like this game, playing it with the expansion and stuff like that. And I did say it was better, but I still didn't want to go out and buy it. But so I think there's some extenuating circumstances.
Did you go into it knowing you didn't like that type of game?
Blood on the Clock Tower. Yes.
It's not that type of game. It was just that game specifically.
Gotcha. Okay.
Does that make sense? If it's like I don't like that type of game, if I play it and I will try to play it regardless because I want to see that I want to find the one that changes my
Break the
mind.
rule. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean I'm not gonna actively like run out there.
Yeah, because that was worker placement, and dice chucking. Tim likes those mechanisms. But like,
Absolutely.
I actually don't care for social deduction games, but I still played Blood on the Clock Tower. I gave it a chance. It's not my cup of tea.
Because I feel like if I actually like that game and it's not my style of game, then my opinion, not that it should necessarily carry more weight, but I feel like my opinion's even stronger because it's like, look, I don't even like these kind of games. And that was awesome. Like,
Right.
like they got me rethinking like my whole stance on these kind of games.
Yeah, it's like when they find a social deduction game that I do care for. It's like, hey, like I usually don't care for these types of games, but I actually had fun playing this game. So
Right. Right. But I don't
try everything at least twice.
I don't come out with the torches, right? Like, oh, I can't wait to burn this fucking game. I hate it.
Pitchforks, yes. Torches, no.
Yeah,
No.
right.
That's the line. Got it.
That's the line.
Okay.
But
Cool.
oh well, guys, this has been a blast. It was awesome to get you both on at the same time. Super fun.
Yeah, we're
For
sorry.
sure.
We're sorry.
No,
Did you just
Also-
apologize?
yeah, I don't know why you apologize. It's a great show.
Like, sorry, we're on.
Because we were both on it together. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah.
It was so good though, and also like I mean, we had a ton of live viewers in and out like this whole episode, and for some industry guys to come in with some hot takes on like mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, we're outsiders, so like we're pulling shit out of our ass. You guys actually know. You're in there. You're on the front lines, and you see it.
Still out of the box, but you can play yours wherever you want.
Well, it's still also opinion, right? Like, I don't know. Me saying don't put white on yellow seems to be an overarching mistake. But some people, maybe it doesn't faze them because they don't see it that way. Or
Oh, sure.
putting an organizing map on a box is not something that people look at. But like for me, if I'm thinking about from the production side of things, taking into account, I'm also in the hobby and I love games and these things piss me off. I'm going to pay attention to, like, if I have the opportunity to change something, say, hey, don't do this. But it also is not like, this is not what the industry is held accountable to. This isn't what Cardboard Alchemy does. This isn't what 3WS does. These are still my opinions.
Sure,
but I
sure,
think
sure.
it could be, especially with all the tools, like, again, talking about Helena and KTBG, like Dice Veggies, the dice colors in that game were specifically chosen for color blindness. Like to make sure that there were, like, that's why those colors of those dice are there, because how else do you do a dice cutting? Like, what color is that? What color is that? What color? Like, that's just not, so thinking ahead is just to, just try and just be better, especially today with all the tools that we have.
Yeah.
To these things.
Yeah.
Better.
And
Where
top
some
of
of the
that,
gamers are a small fraction, the colorblind people are a much larger faction.
that's
Sure.
true.
So we must be appeased.
And
on
not,
top of that,
not as
like,
loud as those vegans.
No, if you're vegan colorblind,
Yeah, look out.
I hope I illustrated, like, every time I remembered that I made one of these mistakes, I fessed up for it, because, you know, there's so much that goes into board games. Sometimes that happens.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Well, and
So-
again, not everybody's got like big teams of people where you've got multiple sets of eyes. You know,
Right.
sometimes it's only one or two sets of eyes and you
Sure.
miss the forest for the trees, right? I mean, you're in there and you're too close to it. And, you know,
But I mean, it happens in big productions too.
Sure.
There's just so much going on that, you know, some things can slip. So while I rail against them, obviously, I also know where they come from. So, hey,
Well,
look
it took us 3 hours to get us Mr. Matthew Ryan in the comments, but hey.
well, he's in that loud. Wait, is he in Texas now? He's in Texas, right?
in Austin, right?
Yeah.
he's going to be on the show. So on the 42 on March 3rd, we have Jeremy Howard.
Yep.
And then whatever the Monday is after that, is that the 10th? That's Matt's show. Matt will be on because he's launching the Hercules game that week.
Nice.
Nice.
And then the week after that, we have Jason Headley on. The next, the 3 weeks after Gamma are going to be pretty big.
That's
Obviously, with
awesome.
Matt.
Hey,
Yep.
you
The
guys are
one with
bringing in the
Jeremy
big
Howard.
dogs.
The one with Jeremy Howard is going to be top 5 board game industry predictions.
Ooh, I got to watch that one. We tried to get Jeremy on the show like a year ago, 2 years ago, Mike. Was it? And it all kind of
It's
just
been a
fell
while.
through because it was like in the middle of convention season. And I haven't like, so I've only ever met him like one time and it was very brief, like at a show kind of thing. But that's a dude I'd love to get on our show too. Cause,
He's fun.
yeah,
He-
lots of insight and industry knowledge too.
He's the reason I hunted down Comic Hunters, the Portuguese edition.
Oh
of Comic.
yeah, for
We
sure.
talked about it on our show.
I mean, the Portuguese version of everything is probably going to be better. Just saying.
Well, listen, Big Cat.
That's what Bob tells all the ladies he tries to date.
The Portuguese edition is better.
Hey,
Yeah.
I took a bunch of the Portuguese sausage into work, and like everybody loved it. So just saying.
Is that a metaphor?
Yeah, right.
No, it's like a true.
It's a true for.
A Bobafor.
It is a Baba for sure. All right, guys. Well, this has been badass.
Yep.
But I
Early
need to go to
morning
bed.
tomorrow.
Thank you so much. And everybody, if you weren't already watching the full 42, please go check out full 42.
Yeah. What do you
Watch out for the owl bears and the puppets creeping in the background over at Chris's house.
No,
When-
Tim, why? Why?
He's got a happy hat on now. He's a nice one.
I don't care. I don't.
Look at him smiling over there. Poor old
That's
guy.
the problem is he's smiling. Man, I just watched Long Legs and there's a thing with some dolls in there, man. They'll just mess you up. But yeah, you guys, thank you so much. It's really our pleasure to be able to host you, call you friends. It's an awesome thing. And
Thanks for having us.
For
Yeah,
sure.
thank you.
but Mike, you got anything else or Bob?
Nope.
Don't.
All right.
Done with us.
Well, then I'll start it. For the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
I'm Chris.
Yes.
Mike.
I'm Mike.
I was Bob.
Yes. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for watching.
And this was a top 5 worst production.
See you guys. Good job, Stonemeyer. A 7.3 repeating. Heating.